Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR
Hump Day
Sports Radio 550.
Is the hump larger after the Bills season ends? Is it harder to get past the hump? Or are you so eager to get past the hump to the next weekend that you just keep grinding, keep going? I don't know that I really need an answer. I
don't have one.
Don't have one?
No.
Just feels the same?
This hump day this week has been long.
Right?
It's been long.
Yeah. I agree. I'm rebounding emotionally. I feel all right. We're celebrating a week into streaming these shows.
Ah, yes.
And I was a week late on getting sort of cleaned up.
I did notice the haircut.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Very handsome.
But yeah, it's funny. I had a meeting scheduled with one of the bosses here for tomorrow at 1:00, and I just went down there to ask him, "Can we do this next week?" Like I'm having a week already. Like I've had just stuff every day to do, and I need tomorrow to just be on the exercise bike for 2 hours listening to the Ramones or something. I need to spend some time in my bubble. So anyway, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
All right.
What are those? Is the 5 stages of grieving? Is there more stages? Acceptance, something.
I should know this. I took a college course on
grieving.
It was Death and Dying was the name of the course. I still have a textbook.
Then I would say you're probably most qualified.
I should know. There's definitely are stages, and five sounds like it could be right.
I'm somewhere in the middle of that.
It's a long time ago now.
Yeah,
I haven't been to college in quite a while.
Kind of figured that. I'm probably like somewhere in the middle, like stage 2, stage 3.
Yeah. Well, good, because I think we may be in different places, and it's possible that for my own mental health, I ran really quickly to the spot that I am now. I just got to get over there. I need to get over there. I don't want to be here. Here is emotional turmoil. Over there, okay. Let me get back over there. So I showed up here yesterday. And this is where we started yesterday. I don't mean to bore our audience that were with us yesterday, but Nate's in for Mike today. Mike lost his voice, by the way. If you were with us late in the show yesterday, you might have noticed that just in casual conversation, he's not one who yells. He doesn't lose it and scream like I do. His voice was cracking, and it was weird. He even said on the air, I don't feel the slightest bit sick, but I feel like my voice is disappearing. And by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock last night, he texted me like, I can't talk. So I don't know when he'll be back, but he's out today, so Nate's here. And so I showed up yesterday and said, you know what, I'm already in a place that I feel much better. And here's how I got there. And you can poke some holes in this and tell me how flawed it is and explain where you're at. But where I ended up already by now is that I feel much better about them moving through this offseason and into next year than I did at this time last year. This time last year, we didn't know they were going to trade Stephon Diggs. And until they traded Stephon Diggs, smart people who talk on the radio for a living were telling you that there's no way they're going to trade Stephon Diggs because they're not going to eat $31 million in dead money or want to spread it out over 2 years or whatever. Just the mechanics of it just seemed unrealistic, and then they did it, and smart people on the radio had to say they were really dumb and wrong. But all that said, like you knew, I think you had some reason to suspect Hyde, Poyer, Tre'Davious White. We knew they were over the cap pretty aggressively. There's going to be change, right? Window closing, that sort of talk, right? And they went through that, And, the price they paid for that was probably ended up being good for them because in terms of expectations going into the year and through the offseason, there was a lot of the Jets are favored, the Dolphins are favored. It wasn't – nobody said the Bills were going to win 5 games, but – it was expected to be a challenge for them to even win the division if they could even do that. Wild card was something, it was just a down year, a step back kind of year. And, all they did was have as good a year as they've had ever through these 5 years. Still couldn't get the 1 seed. Yep. But they got through all that. And, of course, there are things they need to change and improve on the team. But, man, I do not feel like the lift is going to be anywhere near as heavy as it was last year. And that, now, I could be wrong about that. That's how I feel sitting here right now, right? I feel like I already know who, last year at this time, we weren't sure who's replacing Hyde and Poyer. And then they drafted Cole Bishop. And, he's a rookie. He barely played. He had to play at the end here. And he had his moments, good and bad. I feel good about him moving forward. I don't want to make this about Cole Bishop, but generally speaking, I just feel like there's more like fine-tuning to be done here as opposed to I have to take 3 of my former captains, 4 of my former captains, maybe even 5 as it turns out.
5, yeah.
And just, okay, get the recycling bins out. They're going to the curb. And that's not happening here. I don't think it's called for. And they're not in a position where I think they have to worry about that. And I don't know, that made me feel pretty good about, I don't feel good that they lost to the Chiefs with the opportunity they had. I also stupidly thought the Chiefs were vulnerable, and they look infallible now.
Yeah.
And they will feel even more infallible, I think, as we move forward, depending on maybe somewhat what happens a week from this coming Sunday with the Super Bowl. But I don't feel like I'm as in the weeds as I was a year ago, and that has me feeling pretty good.
Well, I guess where I sit on all of this is it's clear to me that a gap exists between them and the Chiefs. I probably feel like that gap is smaller than I did this time last year looking at them, but to me, you kind of have to bucket this in 2 separate buckets, I think, which is where are you in comparison to the team that keeps winning Super Bowls time and time again, and where you are compared to everyone else. And although I think I feel very comfortable about where the Bills compare to the Chiefs, the Ravens are as good probably. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm resorted to feeling like, man, it took them 4 years to get back to the AFC Championship game. And in between that, they lost to Burrow, who is going to probably be back next year.
You didn't have to deal with them really this year in any way, shape, or form. That team's going to be better.
And you've got, the Ravens, who still have Derrick Henry. And name a couple of other teams that are close in the AFC. I don't know. And I think to myself, it's like, it's not just that you're chasing this Kansas City team, but you are also being chased by other people as well. Mm-hmm. So it's the sort of cat and mouse game there. But, what makes conversations about the game so hard continues to be that I don't know that you can get everybody to agree what the problem is, why the reason they can't seemingly beat the Chiefs. I left the game Sunday thinking do I agree that they were outcoached? A little. I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo are the class of each side of the ball in the league. And what does getting outcoached mean? And I think a lot of people think that means they need to fire Sean McDermott. And the idea then means you think there's someone that can be better than Sean.
Yeah.
And I might argue that the thing that frustrated me the most about the game and the commentary after the game, from the players themselves, but the media and after you've watched the game, is how a team that has been together as long as Reed and Mahomes and Kelsey, they still find ways to fool people, showing things they've never shown before in the biggest game of the year. while the Bills kept running quarterback sneak over and over again. And that's really where I think you look at it and say, Steve Spagnuolo's a genius, but guess what happens if Dalton Kincaid catches that ball? He's the donkey because he had an aggressive blitz package and didn't provide safety help over the top and left the guy wide open. And that's just the line of delineation here. Yeah. Is it so small? He's either literally the greatest of all time and the smartest defensive. Oh my God, how could you? Well, he's the reason you lose if that play doesn't work.
The margins are always really slim when you're talking about teams that are at this level, and like whether you like it or not, Bills fans, if you don't want to hear it, I mean the Bills they're at that level. They're contender level status, whether they get to the Super Bowl or not. That's what they are. They will continue to be that. I think for the foreseeable future. Even really last year was maybe the year you thought they might not be that, and they still ended up being that. The margins are so slim. What Spagnuolo didn't just blitz. What he did was design a blitz that he saved and used the same look numerous times and always did something else. Never did the thing that he ended up doing on that play. Like, that's how the Bills sounded anyway about it. Like, they're lined up that way, and that it's coming from over there, not over here, right? It's coming from our left, not our right, if they're lined up this way. The guys that look like they're blitzing are actually Trojan horses. That's not who I should be worried about. It's over there. And so the Bills, I think, reacted that way, and what Spagnuolo did was send the people from the place that it looked like they were coming from. So, like, you're just outsmarting yourself upon outsmarting yourself, thinking, they're going to do this, instead they do that. So it worked, obviously, and blew that play up. But, of course, there's risk involved in that. I think they were outcoached. I think it's hard to deny that. But I like that you said that doesn't necessarily mean you have to replace your coach, because I think when we get to a struggle for me with the McDermott, like the Fire McDermott crowd, is that I think there's so much focus, and yes, the details matter, and you have to be ready for anything, and I don't know how hard I want to be on them for not recognizing that. I don't know how hard I want to be on them for the Chiefs running Patrick Mahomes around right end 2 times when they never do that. Like, ever. Like, it blew my mind that they did that. I don't ever think about him as someone I got to worry about on a keeper. He scrambles, but
what I guess my rebuttal to that is you have, I would consider, the same advantage organizationally that the Chiefs have, which is long-standing continuity and a really strong defensive scheme. Maybe not the same, but their defensive scheme is very strong. The scheme itself can prevail even if the players aren't the best. And they're nowhere close to being able to, in a game, either offensively or defensively, do that. Where you're showing the same thing all day and fool a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Because he is not God. You can confuse him, but you can't seem to do it in the big moments. And you can't seem to, offensively come up with the same sort of concepts where you would think that the Bills running what Kansas City did with him going off right tackle would probably be more effective with Josh Allen running it, right?
Sure.
And listen, it's a copycat league. Those plays are going to get run next year by 20 teams. But the idea here is that they continually find ways to change and innovate. And that's why they're going for their 3rd straight Super Bowl. It's not because they're running the same plays that Patrick Mahomes did his rookie year. It's not because they're running the same plays that they did in week 2. They've saved stuff. They have basically turned the regular season into 17 preseason games.
Yeah, I think I will definitely take with me the lesson of watching them in the regular season and thinking, that's a team that looks like they're going to lose their first playoff game. Come on, they just don't. They don't have it. They don't have it. They don't have answers on it. No, what they had was a cushion, and they acted like it. Right? They just they cruised through and got to where they needed to get to, and then busted out some different stuff that you're just not, and again, I don't know how hard I want to be on them for not being prepared for stuff that they could not have looked on film and gone, okay, I got to watch out for that. Like, credit to the Chiefs for pulling that off. And I don't know, is that another lesson that McDermott and the Bills hierarchy learns on their way to eventual glory here? And they get that part right, too? Because McDermott has been, there's no smoking gun tactical thing from this game, right? Timeouts or any, challenges, whatever. Like, even the one he burned at the end of the first half to try to save 25 yards of field position, to me, is defensible. Like, that probably was an incomplete pass. But I don't know why it didn't get overturned. It didn't. So you've got really outcoached in this instance doesn't mean I don't want to say minutia, because minutia sounds like I'm totally disregarding it. But game management, running instead of passing from your own goal line against Houston, like stuff that he got heat for this year. There really wasn't any of that in this game.
No.
You just kind of got your ass kicked by a guy who had more time to get ready and is maybe one of the best that's ever done it. And I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah,
right?
neither do I.
I don't want to.
Either do I.
I don't think chasing it to the extent that, well, he can't do it. He can't beat this guy, and therefore I have to do something about it. I feel like that disregards so much of the excellent work that McDermott has done here, putting this team together, this whole program together. I mean, it's his thing, and it has absolutely worked to the extent that they are at that status, but they just keep hitting their head in the same spot. And so people are different. Like, I don't disrespect the opinion that you're getting frustrated and tired of this. And I can't tell you he's eventually going to figure it out. All I can tell you is I feel like blowing it up would still be hasty at this point.
I do too. I think it's not. It shouldn't even really be part of a conversation. Inevitably it will be, though, because that's what happens in pro sports. In pro sports, especially like football, there are very few people that get looked at for blame. It's the head coach, it's the general manager, and largely it's the quarterback. And in that game Sunday, like, the thing that I think is probably the most frustrating to me, and then this is how this ends up coming back to Brandon Beane, is, you can talk about Josh in, 25 seconds. I saw RG3's breakdown. I saw Kurt Warner's breakdown, and they to me come off a little like
revisionist.
Yeah.
You should have been able to recognize they were going to do something they had, I don't want to say
they hadn't done
never,
all day, but they hadn't done all game. On top of that, you had to recognize, communicate, execute in a 25-second window in the fourth quarter on 4th and 5 in Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game, the loudest stadium. Like, it's easy. We can all, say the revisionist stuff and the armchair quarterback stuff. I mean, listen, we all do it in some capacity. But at the end of the day, it's like you can sum up that play, and not in a 12-minute video. You can sum it up in 3 words: catch the ball. And that I took that from Joe Marino, because that's what he responded to me. He's like, I can sum it up in 3 words: catch the friggin' ball.
Yeah.
And and then you get to, oh, well, who was it? It was Kincaid. Well, now we can go down the tunnel of they should have never. And I can say, well, my draft analysis.
I would have traded up for Zay Flowers.
Yeah, right. And again, all of it's revisionist. It just in its different in a different sort of scale. But like, to me, the common theme, I think the thing that has not changed, is his teammates not making plays in crunch time. Whether it's defenders, whether it's Kincaid,
Diggs last year.
It's just like these guys, and when you're talking about Kincaid, there's a story there. There's conversation. There's disagreement on should he have been, is he a wide receiver? But like whatever. There's all these things, right? And I think it's like, well, and hey, I get it. Drafting in the high 20s and early 30s is hard, but the Chiefs have done it. I mean, George Karlaftis and Worthy and and sure that you could probably point to a couple they didn't hit, right? I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire stinks, and you drafted him in the first round, but
and they found a guy in the 7th round to replace him.
And same with Kyer Elam. Bills drafted him in the first round, and they found a guy in the 6th round to replace him. But I don't know, man. It's tough because it's another full calendar year of these guys are the boogeyman. And now I hope because this is where I stood, is I did not care at all about what happened in the regular season game. People were like, this is a statement, and we're going to – I'm like, no, it's not. I don't care. I would rather them lose right now because that team is weird and their fan base is weird, and they really, really love having this weird thing about needing motivation, even if it's like, they played a game earlier in the season, and Xavier Worthy's like, well, they didn't want me, so now I've got a chip on my shoulder. And I'm like, nobody seemed to bring that up in their Week 10 matchup, and 27 teams also looked over you, and also, that's like, oh my God, I don't know, it's so frustrating. And if I don't get on a golf course soon, check on me in the next couple of weeks. Just drop a note, Nate.
We're friends. I'll stay in touch.
Yeah, everything's great.
I need to reach out to you more than just when Mike is sick. I think as your friend now. I think that's what I just got out of this. If anything came out of this first 20 minutes, I think it's going to be that.
It's just exactly how fragile you are.
Selfishly, I don't know how much the audience really cares about that because they probably hate us both.
Anyway,
no doubt. 803-0550. 803-0550 is the number. Lines are open now. We'll start taking calls here momentarily. Just want to lay it out for you. Rob Ray at 4. Rob's a big week for Rob. Friday. We've known each other. He and I go back to like 1994, 95. So I'm very excited to talk to him about what this all is going to mean to him and how he's handling being the focus of so much attention, which he will be, of course, on Friday night when they have the ceremony to induct him into the Sabres Hall of Fame. So we'll talk to Rob today at 4 o'clock. At 5, Sal Capaccio will get with us. I don't know if we need to start forecasting what we expect to hear from Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, but they are going to speak tomorrow. It's been announced, I think, 11 a.m. for Beane, 2 p.m. for Sean McDermott. So we'll have that to pour over. We haven't talked to Sal since, Monday we talked to Sal. It's only Wednesday. It feels like forever already because, like you said, this week is dragging. Yeah. And anyway, we'll do that, and then Paul will join us later to talk about how I didn't win $2,000 on Tage Thompson's hat trick last night. 803-0550 is the number. Let's get one call in here before we hit our first break. Jack, you're first up here. You're on WGR. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to say that the Bills, they played the greatest team in NFL history. Here's a team that's gone to 3 Super Bowls with a great quarterback, a great coach, unbelievable defensive coach. This is the same defensive coach that beat New England when they were going in the Super Bowl for the perfect record. At that time, it wasn't a matchup. The Patriots were favored by double digits, and he went in and beat them. So the Bills come up with a couple of plays short. Hats off to the Bills. The coaching, Josh Allen, everyone's very critical. Josh Allen played unbelievable. Those passes, unbelievable. The receivers played great. You're playing Kansas City in the Arrowhead, the greatest team 3 times to the finals. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Sure, it's upsetting and frustrating, but the fact is you're playing the greatest team in NFL history, and you take them right to the fourth quarter, to the last drive on the road. What more can you ask for as a Bills fan? Okay, sure, a victory, but I just think that it's a great team, great organization. It's like Michael Jordan running into Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, not letting them win. Hopefully next year they can do it.
Yeah. Jack, thanks for the call. I'm realizing more and more about myself. And I don't know, maybe this is some professional failing of mine because I work here and I have, I should think about like how I want to say things and how I want to be, but I've always done this 100% honestly. Like I don't put on that I'm mad about this or it'll be good for the show if I go after Sean McDermott. It's just not how I'm wired, right? And what I'm realizing as these years go by where the Bills are really good, excellent, Super Bowl contender level, but can't get past that team is that I'm more like Jack than I ever knew I was. And what does that get you, right?
Same thing.
That and $5 will get you a decent cup of coffee, Uh-huh. And a lot of people go, loser mentality. You don't know what it takes to win. you don't want it bad enough or something. Like I have.
Yeah, right. Like
no,
you.
I'm just telling you, like I'm going to be 60 years old in July, and I watch these games, and I care passionately. I care as passionately as I ever cared. And I've never had more fun with this football team than I've had the last 5 years. I know that's not. We don't have a parade for that. Nobody wants to come. I'm not, if I throw a parade for that, nobody's going to come. And so I feel conflicted. It makes me feel like I'm a loser.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm more and more like Jack. And I don't know, again, I don't know if that's healthy for my career here, but that's how I'm wired at this point. And probably always have been. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary is in for Mike, who cannot speak. I know, what a godsend. Hopefully he'll be well enough for tomorrow or Friday. We'll see about that. Anyway, we'll hit a timeout and take more of your calls at 803-0550 here on WGR.
to have the ball, we all would take it. Every single time, 100 out of 100, and it just didn't work out, and there's a lot of reasons it didn't work out, but disappointing because you just never know when these opportunities, unless your name is Patrick Mahomes and you go to the Super Bowl 5 out of your first 7 years starting, you just don't know when these opportunities are going to come by again.
That's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that is definitely a place that I've been standing. Even though, did he say 100 times out of 100? I guess I would be the 99 out of 100 because Mike asked me something like that late in the week last week, and I said, no, I think the Bills are going to win this game by 10. And I don't need it to come down to the last possession with 3 minutes left and all my timeouts because I'm going to beat them. So pretty brazen, I suppose. But it is stark to me that for all the, scheming and out-coaching and everything that goes into all this, you've got 2 years in a row against that team, the ball in your possession. Yeah. And, think about how you feel if that is Mahomes with the ball or Burrow with the ball. Yep. Or, I don't know, whoever else you want to mix in here, but I mean, that's enough. You feel like you're going to lose, don't you? And that might, spin it back to throwing shade on McDermott and his defense because, they can't stop him when it matters until they stop him and hold him to a field goal and give you a chance to win the game. Right? So that happened on Sunday, and here we are. So,
or you're down 21-16, and your defense gets 2 stops to start the second half and gives you a chance to take the lead back, which you did.
Yeah. So it's tough. Like, I don't think it comes down to simply Josh can't do it. Nobody wants to say that, right? I don't want to say that. But it's 2 years in a row where he had an opportunity to do the thing. And it feels more like Dalton Kincaid and Stephon Diggs let them down, but, he missed throws too. Yeah. The first halves of these games count. I talked about Lamar Jackson 2 weeks ago or a week ago, everybody defending him because he was so good later on in the game.
He was bad in the first part of the game.
He was bad in the first part of the game, and they never caught up. And the Bills were bad, and Allen was bad in the first part of the game. Didn't turn it over twice like Lamar did, but still, he was bad. And they did catch up, and I guess that's to his credit. But still, like, the first part of the game matters. You can get points in the first quarter. You can build a lead even.
And that miss to Curtis Samuel, might still be running right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
That's on Josh.
That was just mechanical misfire. Like, I don't know what the heck that was, but man, that was a bad miss.
It's a terrible miss.
Yeah. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary is in for Mike today. Rob Ray coming up at 4. Rob's getting some royal treatment from the organization he has devoted his professional life to, both as a player and a broadcaster, going into the Sabres Hall of Fame on Friday. So we'll get in with Rob today at 4. Sal on the Bills and the beginning of this offseason. McDermott and Bean both speaking tomorrow. We'll preview all that with Sal and then Paul later on. At 6 o'clock on last night's big win for the Sabres over the Bruins. Dueling hat tricks for Peterka and Tage Thompson. Let's go to Jeff first up this segment. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate the way that you guys, specifically on the station, always try to keep it to X's and O's, and not dig into all of the conspiracy theories and everything that you hear going on. And that's just awesome. I just don't understand this time around why whether it's NFL Network, ESPN, blogging, for former athletes talking about on their channels, just a number of people and the amount of noise regarding all of these questionable things, the mysterious flag, this, that, and the other, refs, blah, blah, blah. So you have somebody today like Dave Lombardi, who said, I don't know if you've heard this, but just the comparison between the two quarterbacks and how it's like a double standard, that the defense in Buffalo on the defensive side of things with the Bills didn't want to make tackles on Allen, and they were afraid, and because they didn't want to take the penalties, but yet no one on the Chiefs side had any fear, and Josh got pounded, a lot more, and everyone kind of tiptoed around Mahomes. I guess I just wanted your perspective on that particular take. It sounds It's pretty far-fetched, but I'm just surprised at the number of reputable names that we've heard from just so many people questioning so many things. And that, to me, is just head-scratching.
What can I... Questionable things, questioning. What? I mean, we're talking about, what are we talking about? Because if you're asking me why I don't spend any amount of my professional time talking about the officiating, it's because I feel like it's a bottomless pit that will swallow me and the show and all of us whole as a society. And it ends up to me feeling very adjacent to talking about voting booths. I just can't. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
I appreciate that. I've never heard so many people talk about problems with the refs.
Yeah.
Problems with calls, problems with, just the Taylor Swift thing, and everybody wants to three-peat. And, you guys really do a great job of staying away from that. But I've just never heard so many people so disappointed.
I understand. Jeff, I think I got you here. And I appreciate you saying that you appreciate us not going that far into it. In fact,
having said that, let me give 5 minutes on this.
I just don't think there's any point in it. I don't believe 99. Do I think refs screw up? Yes. Do I think there were bad calls in the game? Yes. Do I think there's a global cabal led by Taylor Swift that wants the Chiefs to win? Oh my God. No. No. I don't want the show to turn into Facebook Run Wild. No. So I just can't. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I don't know that there's not some big room somewhere where the richest people in the world are all deciding our fates via sports teams. I can barely even say these words. It sounds so absurd. I just can't. For my own mental health, look, I love sports. I love the Bills. I love the Sabres. I just can't. I don't believe in it at all. And that's why we had Ross got into the refs yesterday and said something about I'm sure you guys have been talking about it. It's the most we talk. And look, I'm not invalidating the conversation. The reason you're hearing more people than ever is because there are more people than ever talking and posting stuff on. We're there now. We're on Twitch. I don't even know what the F Twitch is. We're there. I don't know. I mean, people are everywhere talking and trying to get your attention. And, a good way to get your attention is to say the whole thing is rigged.
Yeah.
I think
there might even be a playbook on that. Who's to say?
I mean, I'm just not. I just can't. I can't.
It's a great strategy for a lot of different arenas, by the way. So I guess I would say for me to take a swing at this is when you have a game that comes down to a handful of plays. Again, it goes back to the not being able to fully agree. Have everyone just agree this one play was the reason the game ended, or it didn't end the way you wanted it to. And I'm going to tell you what, if the call had gone the other direction for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs ran a quarterback sneak on 4th and 1 and didn't get it, and it looked like they got it, their fans would be doing the same thing about how the refs, and did you see the Schefter tweet before the game? The league was clearly making sure the Chiefs wouldn't be in the Super Bowl. This is a conspiracy.
Josh Allen's time.
That's what would have happened. Right. And so to say it's all for the Chiefs, I get it. It's largely because one of the elephants in the room for me is, if you want to have a conversation about how there must be some sort of Native American burial ground at that stadium, or that the entire 716 has some sort of voodoo curse on it, I'd be more willing to have the conversation about that than there is a conspiracy for the Chiefs to always win because the league profits more from it. I'd be more willing to have a conversation about voodoo and black magic against the Bills than there is some sort of conspiracy in favor that's being run by the league in favor of the Chiefs. It's so hard because those two calls, to me, it speaks to a much broader issue that the league has, is that we are still not totally sure what a catch is. We are still, years after Des Bryant's catch, or not catch, or whatever it was, no one is exactly sure how to apply these things. That is a league problem. It is a it's a league that generates more revenue than any other business in the world. And they still rely on grown men in their 50s and 60s, no offense, who are in real time running down a line that moves 5 inches to the right.
Hopefully straight.
While they're doing it. Right. Hopefully I'm running straight. Not that I would use this straight line to walk down, but, this isn't because the refs wanted the Bills to lose or that they had somebody call down from Roger Goodell's office and say, you better move 3 inches right. Or that Drew Tranquil in a video that somebody took the time to, go, oh my God, did you see while he was walking, Drew Tranquil said, hey, you want to do us a favor and move that spot back an inch? And he was like, Drew, I got you. But at the same time, you can't have the guy whose job is on the network to give his opinion on what the referees are seeing, saying, yeah, I don't know what they saw there, have everybody else agree that, looked right. Yeah. We spend 5 minutes staring at a video. Right. And the thing is that we can't have these checks and balances in place in the NFL and them not work in real time.
Right.
If that's where the complaint is, I get it, but there is no conspiracy in favor of the Chiefs. It is the league has a huge issue with refereeing.
Yeah. I have 2 follow-up questions. One pertains to this, specifically this, like the commentary in the booth. I'm glad you mentioned Steratore and Nance and Romo, because if there were, I'm really going to give this much credibility. If there were this big conspiracy, wouldn't the NFL want the announcers to be agreeing with the calls?
Yes.
Rather than calling attention to them being bad?
Yes.
Okay, or, well, that's just a part of it. All right, so that's 1. 2, how prepared for follow-up questions are you about this black magic and voodoo stuff?
I'm insanely prepared. Okay. I've got a PowerPoint presentation.
Good to know. 803-0550 is the number. Rob Ray coming up at 4. Nate Geary is in for Mike today. I'm the Bulldog. Thanks for listening to WGR.
This
On this Wednesday, I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp has the day off today. He couldn't talk, and that is a necessary requirement for the job. So Nate Geary is capably sitting in and pinch hitting, and we appreciate him for that. 803-0550 is the number. Let's go to West first up this segment. Hi, West. Thank you for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, Bulldog. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I heard you're turning 60 next July.
Yeah, I did say that at some point today, yes.
Yeah. I'm turning 59 in July myself.
All right. Well, good luck to you.
So, it's safe to assume we've both been around for a lot of decades of Buffalo Bills football.
That's right. You sound way older than me, though. Oh, come on. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Wes.
No.
Please. I'm just joking around with you.
Well, I don't have my dentures in, if that counts for anything, but...
Well, that cinches it then, I guess,
Yeah,
right there. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I shouldn't have said
Okay, no. Listen, man, first of all, I want to say this concept of a Super Bowl window, I don't even like hearing that phrase, because first of all, you look at McDermott's win-loss record, and I guess this is going to fit in with what my other point was going to be about blowing everything up, such a silly notion to me. You look at the Bills' win-loss record, you look at Josh Allen, generational talent. All you got to do is look at his numbers. You don't even have to watch him play, but, and he's still in his prime. There's questions about Bean. The draft picks maybe haven't turned out quite the way we wanted them to. But overall, I think they have a good draft every year. They sign good free agents every year. Every general manager makes mistakes. Every coach makes mistakes within games. I believe in McDermott because, first and foremost, he's one of the main branches from the Andy Reid tree, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he came up under Reid in Philadelphia. That's right.
Yeah. And, again, Allen, Mahomes, Jackson, generational talents like Brady, Breeze, Manning before them, like Kelly, Marino, Elway before them. Look how long it took Elway to win his first two Super Bowls. So the Bills, there's no Super Bowl window, Bulldog. I think that they're going to just keep doing what they do every year.
Yeah, I think, Wes, I think we got to go. Thank you very much, and thanks for being a good sport about my ill-timed jokes that did not land well. Shocker. I think maybe last year taught us the window closed, open, half closed. They made it work this year, and I feel like more than ever, like I referred to the season often as it was starting, and even before it started, as the great experiment. Like, let's see if life without an alpha dog kingpin number one wide receiver can work. Can we make it work? And, maybe you could say, I think if Mike were here, you might say it worked maybe right to the end because I got beat in the end. But they're the second highest scoring team in the league. Whatever emphasis they had on running the ball more, the results are impossible to argue with. As far as like how they performed this season. They did not win the big game or the one before the big game to get to the biggest game. But it worked, and I think part of the reason I am starting to already rebound from feeling so bummed out about what happened on Sunday night is that I feel like the opportunity to improve on what they had last year, especially on offense, is there for them. And, there's no guarantee they're going to make the right choices there, but to me, they can build on an offense that was already the second highest scoring offense in the league. And that's a pretty great place to live, I think. So thank you for the call again, Wes. We'll take a timeout. Rob Ray, our old buddy, going into the Sabres Hall of Fame on Friday. He will join us right after this here on WGR.
More of It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Hard salami's okay, but it's not as good, right? Although maybe if you're French vanilla, you'd be like hard salami.
You mean the best vanilla?
The fake vanilla.
The delicious
the
vanilla?
Fake vanilla.
The creamy vanilla without sand and dirt in it?
It's Mike Schopp.
I like that
Sand
one.
and dirt. The beans.
Yeah.
The specks.
Yes.
Are the problem.
It's granular.
The actual what vanilla is, the absolute worst take you've ever had. Because it's on different levels of offensiveness.
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
And the Bulldog.
Maybe when you first made the ice cream, they were interested in making it, I don't know, good, and added cream to it to make it creamy, thus ice cream, not ice sand, ice gravel.
People, what do we even do?
I mean, what are we talking about?
Help.
Police! Help! Police! Help!
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
We cover a lot of subjects on this show. It's just, you can't miss it. You're going to be ill-informed.
Now you have multiple ways to consume.
Yes.
What a world.
What are they again? YouTube. We're up on YouTube. We're up on Twitch. Which people
still don't know.
Yeah, a gaming platform, but then no follow-up questions because I don't even know what that means. But I believe it's a gaming platform. I hope that that's borderline correct.
I think it's better that you don't know.
Okay, good.
Just leave the mystique, leave the mystery there.
Good.
That's good.
All right, let's maybe bring Rob Ray into this. Rob Ray, do you have any idea what Twitch is?
Twitch is when I get nervous.
Right.
And my head starts bob and I shake a little bit, yeah.
Right, when you used to be on the bench waiting to go out to fight, I don't know, Marty McSorley.
At the end of the month when I go to the mailbox and get the credit card bill and what my wife has done that month, I twitch.
That'll make you twitch. Yeah, it makes all of us twitch. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Sorry that Mike's not here for this. Nate Geary, I think you guys know one another, is in for Mike today. So.
Nate, yeah, how you doing?
I'm well. Not as good as you, but...
It doesn't seem like you sound a little kind of,
Did you...
Well, he's easing into the segment, Rob.
That and, there was a football game Sunday. I don't know if you saw the...
Hey, guys, you can't let that stuff dictate your life, okay? Be into it while it's happening. When it's over, hey, guys, there's life, okay? Life's good.
Listen to this guy. Listen to the ray of sunshine. I didn't even mean to be cute there, ray of sunshine.
Wow.
Sorry, Rob, I'm sorry. How are you? Know what I'm thinking about here is Friday. Rob is being inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame on Friday night. A tremendous honor for you. You've devoted your professional life here, both as a player and eventually as a broadcaster, to the organization. So good for you. I'm super happy to know you all these years, and I'm very happy and proud for you. How are you handling being prepared for being so much the center of attention? Because I think I know you well enough to know that is not an easy position for you.
No. The last thing I like doing is talking about myself. That's why I try to make fun of myself as much as possible to kind of stray. But there's a lot of stuff, man. You never think going into it, all the different things you have to do and plan and get to be a part of to get ready. It's a lot. And then, you only have 5-minute speech. So it's like, that is where I'm crapping my pants about that. I'll stand in front of a camera and talk to a million people. If I have to talk in front of 10 people, just one-on-one, I get a little nervous.
Dude, yes.
That is the worst part.
Yeah. Well,
I'll screw it up. I know I will.
Oh, come on! You're gonna do great. And here's something else. Whether you believe it or not, everyone, almost no matter what you do, everyone's gonna say you did great. Right. So
no, there's a lot of critical people out there now.
No.
20 years ago, maybe that might have been the
well, okay.
Critical people.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
You guys know that.
Yeah, especially on that Twitch. They get after you there. Well, so what has been like as you're sort of opening this up and thinking about it? I'm guessing you were asked about who would you like to have here and all that sort of stuff. Like, what has been maybe the most surprising thing you've uncovered or remembered about your career and the people that have been a part of it as you're getting ready to have your hockey life celebrated on Friday night?
I think the biggest thing is people you hear from, and not only guys you played with, but guys you played against and met along the way that, they take the time to reach out and, congratulate you. And that's pretty cool. When there's guys that's like, you look at the phone and it'll be like, why the hell is he texting me? Like, just stuff like that. It's been nice. And bringing back a lot of the memories, and then making hearing the guys, different guys that'll be around. It's nice that maybe you left a good enough impression that guys would be willing to take time over their lives to come and spend a few hours with you on a special day. So that's probably the biggest.
How many folks from Sterling, Ontario are going to be in the house on Friday?
Yeah, there'll be a few. It's pretty tough to get out of Sterling right now, the weather. But I have my family coming in, my mom and dad and everybody. Mm-hmm. So, the important people will be here and a lot of good friends from home too. So it's nice. But the greatest thing about playing here was my friends and family got to be a part of my whole career. 3.5-hour drive, and my buddies would be down every weekend, and they were a big part of it, and they knew everybody that I played with, and it was a lot of fun. And it was nice to be able to share that with them too, because not getting the chance and see what it's all about, and it was great for them. And it was a good when things weren't great, you knew just about every weekend there'd be somebody from home that you could sit and talk to, or just get this distraction as well. So they played a big part in it.
Rob Ray on the Western Hotline with us here on WGR as he prepares for Friday night when he will be inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame. So, Rob, it's only a 3.5-hour drive, so not that far to Sterling, Ontario, but still, I bet growing up 10, 12, 15 years old even, the NHL seemed pretty far away.
Yeah, it was. When you live in a town that you plan for months to make a trip to Toronto, even just for a holiday or getaway, that was a big deal. That was a huge deal. For me, I saw one NHL game before I actually played in one, and at Maple Leaf Gardens, and that was huge for me as a young kid. And most never got it. A little different now, but for me, I had 1,200 people in my town. I was the first guy to be able to make it, and it was the support you got from them was off the charts. But you also carried a little bit of maybe responsibility that, hey, I did make it. I got to do as well as I can and make them proud too. So that was probably more pressure than anything, just making sure that everybody there. And in my town, they're either Leafs fans or Habs fans, and so it was hard. Being a Sabre, that nobody followed those teams, but they supported you. They didn't support the team quite as much. So, but it was great. And after I left, a couple other guys had a chance to get to the NHL. So you kind of felt like maybe opened that door for them or gave them that hope that, hey, he made it, I can do the same thing. So it's been good.
Rob, I would say the youngest of the three of us, I'm not reaching on that one. I know for sure I'm younger than Bulldog is. How, when you think about sort of where you are now in your broadcasting career compared to where you were in your playing career, I have had the luxury of being a part of both. I think a lot of people have. But how cool is it for you to know that even people that didn't maybe see your live playing career still appreciate what you've done in your playing career, in your post-playing career? I think that's pretty cool that, your game and what you meant to the city has been able to transcend to, people's kids who maybe didn't get to really watch it. I think it's really cool.
I think it's the time, the years you were a player and then as many years doing this, you touch a lot of generations, a lot of people. And, even I help coach the kids here at Junior Sabres, and the kids that are my son's age, 15, 16 years old, they never saw me play. They obviously see it online and YouTube and things like that, but they know me as the guy on TV doing the thing, not Rob the player type thing. So, yeah, in most cases now with the younger kids, that's, oh, you're the guy that's on TV. Yeah, cool, So they really don't have an idea of the game you played, or when you played. I think it's just fortunate that I was able to, get an opportunity to step into this situation and do this. It wasn't something I looked to do or wanted to do or had aspirations to do. It just, Larry Quinn gave me the opportunity, and I said, yeah, I'll try it. And I was only going to do it for a few years just to have something to do. And now it's like, wow, now you're starting to think, okay, when's the time to get out of it?
Yeah, man, I'm remembering you being, uneasy, uncomfortable with being right from the room, right? to the media, and now I'm sitting at a desk with people who have criticized us. And that took some adjusting for you, didn't it?
Oh, it does, because for a long time you're still referring to as we,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody would be like, it's not we anymore, it's them, type thing. But it was like always, no, you don't lose that, you even in game situations, you sit there and you'd be thinking, okay, what would I do now, or what needs to be done? And, because you were in there for so long and you had that responsibility, you start thinking that way even when you're doing the games. And, it's tough to separate the two. I've been told, at times you can't be a fan to do this game, but I think you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to, love the team and love the organization and love the game to have the fire to do something like this. So, not only to play, but to work on this side too. So you have to have a passion for it. Everybody that does it has a huge passion, and that's what it comes down to.
I wanted to mention here, I should have said this before I asked you about that, because you mentioned the kids you're coaching, your kids' age. First of all, your son, 15, 16, my oldest son is 23 and working here now. Like, it just kind of blows your mind, right, sometimes. But I showed him a clip, and I had forgotten about this, but I think as part of all of this run-up to Friday night, the Sabres have been tweeting out different, things that you were involved in over the years. And the ESPN ad, where the UPS driver or whatever, and like Melrose walks by and says, "Hey, Razor," and he's like, "Hey, coach," and you keep pounding on the guy. I showed that to Owen, and he was dying laughing, and also said that was an elite head of hair right there that you had in that commercial.
I just took my son for a haircut today, and I'm looking, and all these kids are coming in. I'm like, I said to another father, I said, you know what? Are we jealous? I am. These kids all got long hair now, and you came here for myself. I had hair, I was skinny, I was in shape, I could see, and all that's gone now. So you just kind of just sit there and go, wow, times have changed. But yeah, it is what it is, and you just kind of go with it and have fun with it. I think that's the best part. I love we're at the rink here now, and I love being around these guys and listening to them, and they're experiencing things for the first time, and they're open to you. And I like to be that guy that, they will talk to. I don't want to be a coach that they're scared of or, won't. I'm the guy that they open up to. I'm the nice guy. And I laugh my butt off sometimes with the stuff that they do or say, or it's amazing. It's the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah, awesome. Rob Ray on the West Her Hotline with us being inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame on Friday. People who have listened to you over the years, certainly on TV, but even on our shows going back a very long time. I mean, I know I started doing shows with you in like 1995 or something. So like we've been at this together in some form a long time. And you've talked many times to our audience about getting to Rochester and John Van Boxmeer pulling you aside and telling you what you needed to do if you were going to make the league. And I'm curious, I don't think I've ever pushed any further than just letting you tell that story. How, if at all, conflicted were you about turning into that kind of player? Because when you're 16 years old playing junior hockey or 17 years old playing junior hockey, I bet you weren't thinking I'm going to become one of the most notorious tough guys in the history of the league. But to get your ticket punched, that was what you were told it would take, and you did it. Like, how hard a decision was that for you, if at all?
No, it wasn't hard at all, because I didn't know John Van Boxmeer that well when I got there. I'd only known him for a short period of time, but just the way he approached it and the respect he had and taking the time and willing to maybe make that offer to me and make me aware of it, that, he said at the time, this is what they're looking for, and they think you might be able to do it. Are you willing to try it? And like a second later, I'm like, heck yeah, show me, teach me, tell me, and, you're 19, 20 years old, and I think that's the biggest thing now. Like, that was the greatest advice I ever got. If he never took the time to give me that advice or open up to me in that way, I might not ever made it. I might have played my 2 or 3 years there and kind of just dwindled away. So best advice I ever got. Every time I see him, I beg him for it. And I think that's the big thing now, where guys that come in, and I know when we bring the prospects in, and some of the alumni sit and talk to them, one day that when they're all in, and one of the biggest things we try to get across to them is, hey, you guys were all great players in junior, all of you, or you wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. But at some point here in your pro career, you may have to adapt to something or change your game to survive and do what they expect or want from you. And I think the guys that survive are the ones that are willing to adapt. That, you might have been a 50-goal scorer in junior, and you may be a third-line checking guy now. But you have to accept that. A lot of kids won't. A lot of guys will just say, no, I'm going to go and do what I did to get here, and that's it. And, they're gone, in and out and gone. You have to adapt. Because your game is going to change. You're never going to, unless you're a superstar, you're never going to play the same game from beginning to end. You're going to have to change it at some time, whether when you get a little older or just when you're younger, to try to break in. So I think it's important. If somebody is going to give you that advice and it's real, then take it. And to this day, I thank him for giving me that advice.
Wow, I'm glad I thought to ask you that, because, like I said, I think we've always just sort of been on the surface there about it, and I think that's really good advice for anyone, whether it's a hockey player or a football player or someone who wants to go into
any sport.
Right.
Like I was, 50-some points my last year junior, defensive player, killed penalties, all that kind of stuff, and then when you get here and it's a total drastic change. And like John Brett Boxmeyer wasn't the greatest guy in the world to teach me how to play that role, because he'd never probably been in a fight in his life, barely. But, he made sure that, when you were going through it, he was supporting you and helping you with it. Like that year I had 46 fighting majors, I think, in 63 games, 446 minutes and penalties. Like I didn't see out of my eyes from October to March and I might have, out of that 46 fights, I might have won 2. You're a fight. I was a 19, 20-year-old kid, fighting men, 35, some 40 years old at that time, because it was an old league. So they were fighting for their lives. I was fighting for, I don't know, just to hopefully make the next step.
You just reminded me, there's no way you'd remember this, because it wasn't that big a deal to you to meet me for the first time. But I met you when I was interning at WBEN, and you were doing an evening show then with Howard Simon. And you came in the door, and I was very excited. I was a big Sabres fan. I'm kind of new to all this, right? I'm still in college. And you walk in, and I don't know who else was in the room, but somebody introduced it, Chris Parker, Rob Ray, and I stuck my hand out to shake your hand. And you had your hand sort of at your chest, like below, on your stomach, kind of like, not in a pocket, but like, and you looked down at your hand and looked back at me, and your hand was like the knuckle. It was gross, Rob. Like, I'm sure you remember the knuckles were swollen to like the midpoint of the finger, and you're like, like you just nodded at me like, I can't shake your hand because it'll hurt my hand. And then I remember like 3 nights later watching you just hammering away at Denny Vial's helmet and thinking like, you have a ridiculous job.
Well, back then, even if there was something wrong with your hand, you'd never say,
right?
Because you would never want to get taken out of the lineup, or you got it so much out then, and it's different now, and I think it's better now. Then there was guys played too many times when they probably shouldn't have.
Right.
And, long term. But, yeah, with your hands, like I remember Dave Hannon used to yell at me because I played with him and Wayne Presley for a couple of years, and passing in practice, and they'd be zipping them across at you, and they'd be bouncing off your stick, and they'd be all over me because I couldn't handle the pass. And I'm like, dude, I'm hanging onto this stick with my finger and my thumb and my first. I can't squeeze the stick to hang on to go do what I got to do. So just lay off. But he'd be on me all the time about it. And, yeah, it was just part of it. You just kind of learned to deal with it. And, like I said, you were young, and you didn't think about it that much. You were just, on a high that you were able to do what you were doing.
Also, in fairness, Bulldog, when, a normal-sized person comes up to you, they might also be a little shy at shaking your hand. It's just like the mitt.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You know,
yeah,
like it. So I don't think that was Rob's.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was a problem. Rob, I've gone through the list of people that are going to be there tonight. A lot of former teammates. One name that jumped out at me.
Friday night, Chris.
Oh, Friday night. Sorry.
Not tonight. Tonight we're just at home.
I apologize. Thank you for being on top of paying enough attention to correct me there, because I would have felt horrible about that. Yes, Friday night. Scott Metcalf was a name I saw. And like we're talking about learning how to do the job you ended up doing so well in the NHL for all those years. Did he play a part in helping teach you how to do that in Rochester?
Yeah, huge. You know, when I went to Roch, I played with Scott Metcalf and Kevin Kerr. And both those guys are very good players and could handle themselves extremely well. And we played as a line. And we actually lived on this street called Fireside. And they used to call us the Fireside guys. And it was like, because we all lived together. And at home was pretty much the same as the way we played. And it was like every night we would just go. And, you know, you did well because most guys didn't want to play against you because it wasn't one. It was all three guys that would go nuts on you if they had to. And Metter was so good at taking the time and working and teaching, and we'd be practicing techniques at home and all that kind of thing. But we had fun doing it. And, you know, he was a guy that, you know, never really got the shot to take the next step, but he left a pretty big impression with me and helped me out a lot when we were down there that year. He was a great leader. He was a good guy. You know, still to this day, you know, and even Kevin Kerr last night, actually, during the game, he was texting me during the game, giving me a hard time about something. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, you know, and I got to the point, don't be jealous, guys, okay? You know, it's just that's kind of the way we were. But I remember one night we were in Halifax, and it was my first year, and the three of us are line. We get in a fight right in front of the Halifax bench, and three of us are fighting. And it's right up tight to the bench. And we're all three going out with three different guys. And right in the middle of it, I remember Scotty Metcalf yelling at me, going, Razor. And I'm like, what? And I'm trying to, is something going wrong? And he goes, hey, when we get home, we got to get some milk and bread. We're out of milk and bread. We might need butter, too. And I remember starting to laugh in the middle of this fight. And I look up at their bench, and these guys are on the bench, and they're just looking at us going, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is mayhem. So it was pretty cool.
That is fantastic. Well, we are out of time. I have enjoyed this immensely. I hope it wasn't too painful for you.
No, are you kidding me?
And really,
you know what's painful? I got to go upstairs now and put my skates on.
Oh, well, good luck with that.
My son's been hurt. This is the first. Yesterday was the first he skated, and this will be the first time I skated before Christmas. So that is going to hurt.
Are we to the point where your son has to help you put your skates on like you used to have to help him put his on?
No, we dress in a separate room. But saying that, the night we played that Shoresy game, Eric Bolton was sitting in the corner by himself. He got all dressed other than his skates. He didn't have them tied up. And I look over, and he's red, his guts hanging down between his legs. And I look at him, and I go, do you need help? And he goes, can you tie my skates? Oh, so you're literally over there tying his skates so he could get out to play. So not to that point yet, but getting very close.
That is amazing. Well, really, Rob, much love. Enjoy Friday. Mm-hmm. You deserve it.
Congrats.
And we're very happy to have had this time with you.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thank you very much.
There you go. That's our buddy Rob Ray on the Wester Hotline, inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame Friday night. Here's the deal. Doors will open at 5 on Friday. They're asking you to be in your seats by 6:05. The ceremony will begin promptly at 6:05. Also, if you are hung up and not there in time or just listen to the games on the radio because you don't go, we are intending to carry the ceremony in its entirety on Friday night. So that I don't know how long it'll run, but that will be a part of the pregame coverage of Friday night's game against Nashville. So again, 6:05. So an hour earlier, plan to be in your seats. If you'd like to be there for puck drop, just plan an hour earlier, and you will be there in time to see the ceremony for Rob Ray being inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame. All right, let's hit up a timeout, and we'll load back into some football conversation here with the Bills season ending the way it did on Sunday in Kansas City in the AFC title game. Speaking of the Bills, Sal Capaccio will be with us at the top of the hour at 5 o'clock, Paul Hamilton at 6. Nate Geary is in for Mike. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of Sabres Live, but you don't have to miss any moments either.
unequivocally say. I do agree that there's one piece of elite perimeter talent on the outside. When I say elite perimeter talent, it doesn't mean that it's the number one receiver, but another really person that can consistently impact the game. What's the plan with Amari and Keon's growth and all that? But if you can get another perimeter guy to truly impact the game in the skill group, you want to consistently push the envelope on that.
That is excellent, in my opinion. ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky. He's a regular. Is that from One Bills Live this Tuesday? He's been a regular during football season, 2 o'clock on Tuesdays with Chris Brown and Steve Tasker, and just excellent. I catch it almost every week on my way in here and really enjoy his insights. And I mean, I agree. Mike and I have talked some already. I mean, it's a little early to be mapping out the offseason plan and targeting this player or that player, but I am so here for something on offense. I've been yelling about speed, Nate, since they lost the AFC title game the first time in 20 after the 20 season. I need, Tyreek Hill impacted that game severely. He of course impacted the 13 seconds game tremendously as well. I need one of those guys, and we still do not have it. I mean, the Bills, I think, thought maybe they had a little small something like it in Isaiah McKenzie for a while. Maybe Deontay Hardy was supposed to be that last year, but they never used him. It just never got off the ground. And I'm still there now. It's part of the reason why I was so into Xavier Worthy as an idea for the Bills. I thought he was exactly what their offense needed. And no, he's not a big boundary receiver, but he certainly is playing all over the field. The Chiefs have figured out how to use him in lots of different ways other than just taking the top off the defense. So I'm heading into the offseason, not that I'm expecting them to use their top asset on a receiver like that, but I'll be thinking about a fast guy who's got some flaw. He's not, but maybe like Worthy, he wasn't so big, but he still got to be a first-round pick. I think that offense, their offense, the Bills' offense, still is crying out for speed, something that can, the defense, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. They just have not had it.
There's going to be guys in this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, Tez Johnson is going to be the guy that Xavier Worthy was going into last year's draft. Really, he's 156 pounds. And he's lightning.
Yeah.
And listen, I think, too, it's even more so a conversation about team speed. Not just individual speed at the wide receiver position, which I think you can isolate as one thing, but team speed is another. Damar Hamlin got burned a couple of times. He's not fast.
Yeah.
Rasul Douglas is not fast. I don't know what Cole Bishop ran, but I wouldn't look at him and say, well, that's a guy with foot speed. Even Christian Benford is not
elite fast.
Yeah. So their defensive backs are kind of slow. Their wide receivers, Khalil Shakir's a 4.4 guy, I think. Curtis Samuel was a 4.3 guy 8 years ago. I don't know I don't know how speed follows you with age. If I could tell you from experience that it does not follow you with age, I think the Sabres sort of said this to themselves in a self-evaluation that said, we kind of have a bunch of slow guys. We really need to bring in fast guys. But they brought in fast guys that really can't do anything. They're just fast. And I think that's really where you kind of have to find a balance between speed and, effectiveness when they're at the position. But I would like to see them, this was a really good example, was Cam Kitchens. Very slow. Safety last year, slow. I think he went in the third round. He was one of the best players on the Rams defense this year. Cole Bishop was taken in the second round and kind of was an afterthought special teams player. And teams didn't draft Cam Kitchens because he was slow. He ran a 4.6 at safety. A terrible time for a safety. And that's what caused him to drop from being like a borderline first rounder to a third rounder, a fourth. I don't even fully remember where he ended up going. But I digress to the main point here is team speed needs to be reprioritized for the Bills. And I think it was one of the head-scratching parts about taking Coleman was, okay, I can get behind you saying, yeah, speed isn't everything, and he was too small,
Football
didn't really
speed
think.
And right.
But his lack of speed showed. Like, he did not look like the player that you saw in college, because sometimes you need to be able to separate. And if you can't separate, then there's only so many contested catches. I hate this conversation about how Xavier Worthy's a gadget player. Keon Coleman's a gadget player. Gadget player means you do a couple of things.
Right.
You are not complete. If you were asking me side by side who the gadget player is, you might say it's Xavier Worthy because small guys always get pinned.
And they give him jet sweeps.
Is Tyreek Hill a gadget guy?
Yeah, right.
No, he certainly isn't. So the NFL has shifted its ideology. You don't need to be 6'3", 210 anymore to be successful at the position, especially with the rules that the defenses play with. You can't touch them.
Right.
So, you know what?
Yeah, a guy like Xavier Worthy would have gotten murdered 15 years ago.
Because you could maul guys at the line of scrimmage.
And blast them. Just
can't jam what you can't catch.
Right.
And if you want to jam Xavier Worthy, good luck.
And if you want to hit him hard over the middle, you're probably going to
get a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
So, to me, a gadget player means you don't have a complete game.
It's not multidimensional.
If you're going to tell me out of the two, Keon Coleman and Xavier Worthy, Keon's the gadget player right now, anyways.
803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary's in for Mike Schopp today. I am the Bulldog. Dennis is first up this segment. Dennis, thanks for waiting. You're on WGR.
Hey, guys. So just a couple things while you're talking. Some things came to mind. You were talking about team speed. And it's funny, etched in my brain is back when we drafted Gabe Davis, when Brandon Beane was kind of up at the combine saying, rooting for him to run slow.
Right.
I don't know if you guys remember that, but
I do. Yes.
It does seem like something that is not valued at all for our team. And it definitely shows up in moments when I don't know why you would want to run away from that. Like you can still draft good players that are also fast. You don't have to try to avoid it. Kind of seems like maybe that's our plan, which is odd. But aside from that, I know Nate earlier on in the show you had mentioned something about the different drafting, and sometimes Kansas City also misses too, like we've missed, but I think when you look at the picks that we've had, we have okay guys in the first and second round. Even if they're playing, they're not like anything much. They're just average guys in the league, and what they've been able to do is get their number one and number two receivers over the past 2 years. They've been able to get Trent McDuffie, who's an all-pro. They've been able to get Nick Bolton, who's a Pro Bowler. They've been able to the guys, when they lose guys, they're able to replace them with Pro Bowl level or extremely high-level talent. Yes, they've missed on Edwards-Helaire, and I think they had another couple of guys in there maybe that they might have missed on, but at the end of the day, that's the difference. The difference is their elite talent that they have around Mahomes and around Andy Reid, and what we have is not even close. And then you look at people. You might want to say McDermott doesn't deserve the criticism he gets and things like that. I don't necessarily think he deserves all the criticism, but like here's an example. Just like a lot of teams, if you didn't have Josh Allen on this team, it's a 500 roster. It's a 500 team. And if you didn't have Mahomes on Kansas City, they're much better than that, in my opinion. And they've had 7-8 years together to put together a roster that has a much, much higher level talent than what they have right now with 2 Pro Bowlers on the roster, which to me is unbelievable how they can't do better than that, So this year, I feel like, I don't know if it's, cut ties with these guys or whatever, but you're going to have to supplement the talent that you're losing, and you have to put high-quality difference makers on the defensive line. I mean, Ed Oliver is not a difference maker. Right now, Rousseau is not a difference maker. These are the guys that they've invested their number one picks in, and they're players, but, they're no Chris Joneses and they're no Trent McDuffies, and that's what we're going to need to win.
Dennis, thank you for the call. Oliver had an excellent game on Sunday, I thought.
I thought so, too.
Rousseau had a terrible game.
His worst of his career.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not even being dramatic. It was the worst game of his career.
Yeah. But, it's the kind of premise that you can't really ever prove right or wrong. But, sure, they have – I agree with McDuffie, Jones. Like, they've got Creed. He didn't call it, didn't even mention Creed Humphrey. He must not know you.
Trey Smith.
Right. But you've got all of that. Without Mahomes, they'd be a bunch of dudes, I think. I mean, they'd all be maybe still excellent players in a vacuum, but you're not getting anywhere with average quarterback play, even with that roster. I think you need the quarterback.
I do find it, like how they've traded, Tyreek Hill and are on route to potentially winning 3 Super Bowls post Tyreek Hill trade. The L'Jarius Sneed. He at the time when he was there was like the best corner in football. Right. And they were just like, all right, bye.
McDuffie just seamlessly replaced him, basically.
See ya. And now he kind of stinks in Tennessee. So, it's so hard because it's what you have to compare to. But, I don't agree that there's this giant talent disparity. They lost by 3 points. If there was how about this? There was a genuine talent disparity last year, and they still lost by 3 points. Or how many they lost last year?
It was 3.
It was 3. So, A.J. Klein was on the field, and it still was a 3-point margin.
Right.
So how about the things that are overcoming? Because I think we so focus on what are the things that we are lacking or the Bills are lacking compared to them. And I think the better question, because I think it helps you understand where you at, the things you need. I think it's very easy to point out the things you don't have. But what are the things that are keeping you in 3-point games in the most important games of the season the last 2 years? Your quarterback and your offensive line. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are things that, they have a really great offensive line. You have a very good offensive line. Your defensive line is good sometimes, and a lot of times in the big situations, they don't show. And Rousseau picked the worst game ever imaginable to have his worst career game. But, it's tough. And again, they got the advantage in coaching. Is it dramatic? I don't know. Do you feel like they're so much better than the Bills and Andy Reid is so much better than Sean McDermott if they, if the referees can agree that the Bills got the spot in the first down and they go down and they score a touchdown and it's 29-21 and they've got a 2 or what is that 29-20 or whatever? It's been 2 scores that they would have been up.
Yeah.
And would anybody have been like, oh man, the talent discrepancy is you can't overcome it? No, you'd say, well, we got them that time. And I guess it isn't as wide as I thought.
Yeah.
It's just...
It would have been an 8-point game. It was 22-21 that was their lead, yeah. So
and then I would have
gone for 2
been
and tried to
yelling
make
about
game.
going for 2. Yes.
Right. 803-0550 is the number. A lot of open lines for the first time all day if you want to get in. We'll take some more calls as we continue here. Sal Capaccio coming up in a little bit as well to review and preview. The Bills are having their end-of-season news conferences with the GM and the coach tomorrow. Brandon Beane at 11 in the morning, Sean McDermott at 2 p.m., and we'll carry both of those here on WGR.
This hour of Schopp and the Bulldog is being brought
for Mike today. Let's squeeze Brian in here before we hit the top of the hour. Hi, Brian. You're on WGR.
Oh, thanks for taking the call. So my call-in was regarding, I heard one of your shows, I think it might have been from yesterday. I'm in Hawaii, so sometimes I have to hear them on record. But I believe that we need a new defensive philosophy overall. The only way to do that is to get rid of Sean McDermott, because even if you wanted a new defensive philosophy, with Sean McDermott there, well, whoever you bring in is going to have to run Sean McDermott's defense. He did it with Leslie Frazier. He's doing it with Bobby Babich. I think we need to overhaul the entire defense, start all over from scratch, and build a championship defense. In my opinion, everywhere Sean McDermott's been, he's a good coach, and he's a winning coach, and he's a good defensive coach. He just can't coach. His defenses are not championship-winning defenses. They win, but they'll never win the big one. And I think we need to get rid of Sean McDermott for that one specific reason.
All right, thank you for the call. I don't agree. Everywhere he's been, he was a defensive coordinator in Carolina before he came
2015, here. And they went 15-1 that season, made it to the Super Bowl.
But they lost.
And he was
because he's a loser.
And the defense, I don't think was. I mean, they gave up 24 points to an offense that was like maybe the best ever. That had Peyton Manning had 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. They gave up 24 points. It's Cam Newton didn't die for a fumble.
Yeah, that happened. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. I know there's a lot of that out there. I just there's two things quickly. One, I think it totally disregards all the excellent work that's been done here. So there's that part of it. The other part of it is not to say that what the organization is going to do shouldn't be pushed back against, but I just.
And I also
do you really think? I should ask the caller. Do you really think they're going to do that? You got to find a different solution. I'm all about finding a different solution because I don't think there's a chance in hell they're moving him ever right now. Right now, anyway. I don't know. He shouldn't have the job for life. I also appreciate that, but it definitely does not feel like time to blow it up and start over after winning 5 straight AFC East division titles. I just don't. So, I feel it's a little bit like the caller asking us earlier, why don't you talk more about the refs? Because what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? To me, we could, if I really agreed with the caller, I would also say they should fire Sean McDermott. It would not make it any more likely. It's just not, it's not on the board.
And the reason that any of us talked about it last year after the Denver game is because it felt like he had lost the locker room.
Yeah.
And that he had lost, that what had made them so good had worn off and had worn away. And you're at 6-6 and you just lost to, and the way they lost.
Yep.
That was the first time anybody at the station was like.
For me, it was the Philly game, but yeah. But I got there, and I people occasionally will ask me didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I did. I've said multiple. Whenever it comes up, I own it. Yeah, I reacted that way. I realize now, in my view, I was wrong. I don't that you can do that in life. You can realize you were wrong about something, that your temper got away from you, and your emotions got the better of you, and you reacted in the wrong fashion. I mean, it happens. Anyway, we'll take a time out. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Sal Capaccio on the way right after this. Nate Geary's in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR.
Both are being held tomorrow. Bills general manager Brandon Beane will speak first. He's expected to be speaking with the media tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. That's going to be during the Extra Point Show that will be played during then. And then head coach Sean McDermott will be at 2 p.m. That'll be during One Bills Live. And the team also is continuing to hand out future contracts. Tight end Zach Davidson been signed to a reserve future, while quarterback Shane Buechele has signed a one-year deal. And we'll get more on the Sabres as Sal Capaccio joins the show next. For the Sabres, they're not back in action again until Friday when they host Nashville. That's going to be Rob Ray night as he is inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame. But last night, 7-2 win over Boston. 2 hat-tricks for 2 Sabres players, Tage Thompson and J.J. Peterka. But for tonight, just 5 games in the NHL. 3 at 7 o'clock, Devils host the Flyers. The Maple Leafs have the Wild in town, and the Kings are at the Panthers. At 9, Vancouver takes on the Preds in Nashville, and then 9:30 sees Utah host Pittsburgh. And then earlier this afternoon, UB Women took down Western Michigan 73-40 as they improve to 18-2 on the season. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Kickoff 2025 of the new Chevy from Paddock. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Filling up right behind the Bills bench right now with their flags and their hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Let's go Buffalo chant.
On WGR.
Bills make me wanna.
Glad to have you with us here on this Wednesday. Nate Geary sitting in for Mike Schopp today. I am the Bulldog, and joining us now on the West Her Hotline is our man, Sal Capaccio. Sal, we now know, finally, it's only been a few days, but Bills are having the end-of-season stuff tomorrow. Brandon Beane at 11, Sean McDermott at 2. There's been some news, right? They've signed a few guys to futures contracts. Is there anything that we need to know before the time goes by and I don't get around to asking you?
I don't think so. We're now in off-season mode, right? And just kind of sucks. It helps me kind of get over Sunday a little bit more than, when I start turning to it, but it still sucks to do this instead of talking about game planning against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tell you that much. I do think that the bigger picture is this year they are right now in a much better spot than they were last year, roster-wise, salary cap-wise. And, yeah, they're going to be, massaging the roster as we go on. I think people in general have to remember, I think listeners, so everybody knows, right now rosters are basically frozen, but you can sign players to reserve futures deals. And all that means is you're basically putting the player on layaway until the 90-man roster. Like, okay, they're ours, but we don't count them on the team until the 90-man roster begins when the new league year begins. So when you see Bill signed X player to a futures reserve deal, it just means, okay, they're on the team, but they don't actually count on the team until March, 15th, whatever it is. And as of right now, the Bills are down to 17 pending unrestricted free agents. They have 1 pending restricted free agent and 1 pending exclusive rights free agent. And of the 17 unrestricted, I don't think any are super big names, to be honest. They're names that can help you, but there's no one that even comes close to anything like a franchise tag.
Right. So how are you doing? You're rebounding. I heard you on Monday, and like I felt, and I think I sounded on Sunday night and Monday, there's just a different and I say this as a compliment to you, because I like this about myself. Like you're gonna know how I feel. I know it's a show, and there are elements of it that are showy, right? Like you just got to put on a brave face. But it was very tough to take what happened on Sunday night, Sal. I mean, it's just so many hopes and dreams, and so much of it's their time vibe, and the vibe around the team even, and that could be very challenging for them to try to replicate because. There's, the weight of expectation, I think, will be back. Not that there weren't expectations this year, but I just think it's going to be different again. More like it was after the 20 or 21 season than it was after last season.
Yeah, so how am I doing? Well, yeah, that's right. We go on, we do this for a living, and we're the people, we're the conduits to the team, and we're the quote-unquote objective journalists and radio hosts, and we got to do this, right? That's what we do. We sign up for it, no doubt. But, I mean, look, I'm from here. I mean, I'm embedded with this team. I have, relationships with players and coaches because we all have those in some way, shape, or form we develop, no matter if you're the sideline guy or a beat reporter and don't do that, whatever. I feel it. I hurt. We all lived through, I know you and I did. Nate might have been a little too young. We lived through 4 Super Bowls, and we lived through a lot of heartbreak in the 98 playoff game and then home run throwback in 17 years. And we lived through no goal. And we've never had it here, right? And that it's so close. It's just so close. And it's like, how much more can you take? But yet here we are every year. We just keep taking it. And we're going to keep doing that. And I ran into somebody today. Literally, I went to – my son had off today. It's the Lunar New Year, so New York State, the kids had off. And Max and I went to the mall today to do some things. And this guy comes up to me. He goes, hey, you're Sal. He's like, next year AFC Championship goes through the home. And I'm like – but that's the Bills fan who's just ready to go. It doesn't matter, right? That guy's over it almost, and it's the next year guy. It's hard for me, man. And I think that for me, I take this about me. Like I've rarely looked at any mentions on social media for the last 72 hours, and the reason is because I get too caught up and I get mad about a lot of the things that I see. That's not good for my health.
Right.
You want to know? Seriously. We want to be real about it. Like, it's not good for my mental health. It really isn't. I about a year ago, back in November when they lost to the Eagles, I went through this where it was just so bad on me, where I literally I had to take a step back and say I just can't even deal with this for a little while.
As much. Yeah.
Right. And you know what I did? I literally, my wife recommended. My wife's a mental health counselor. She recommended for me the book written by Jay Glazer called Unbreakable. And she's like, Jay's in the same business as you are. And Yana says to me, and she has said this, I'll just be an open book here. Yana says to me quite often, she had said to me over the last few years, I think you have some anxiety issues. And I've never been diagnosed or anything like that. She's not a medical, she's not a doctor, but she's in the mental health profession. And I think I probably do with some things. And I think it came out around then. And I will tell you, I read this book. I did the audiobook, Jay Glazer, Unbreakable. And it helped me a lot. Really did. And I sit here in moments like this, and I don't want to ever go down there again. Right? I don't want to be back in that. It's not like depression. It's just a spot where I know it's not healthy for me, if that makes sense.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I need to be me. I need to be my best version of me. So how am I doing the last few days? It sucked. But I have to turn the page at some point and do my job, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Well, I really like that you led with the shape they're in, because going into this offseason, because by, Sunday, Monday, I'm not saying it has to be everyone. You do your own thing. Maybe will be carrying this game around with them for weeks. I don't know, months even. But for me, by Tuesday morning, what I was thinking about was the shape they're in as opposed to the shape they were in last January after they lost to the Chiefs. And, we didn't know then that Diggs was going to get traded. In fact, I said this earlier, a lot of smart people on the radio raise his hand quietly, told that no way, then they did it, right? But some stuff we knew, or at least certainly had reason to suspect was going to happen, right? Hyde, Poyer, there was going to be cuts because the salary cap, the reality was coming crashing down on them, and they were going to have to make big changes. And that, was unsettling because it felt like the end of at least an era of the team, right? Like the first really good team we'd seen in a long time is going to be vastly different now. Leadership, captains, guys are leaving. And that was a lot to unpack and a lot to take on in a single off season. So much so that expectations were lower than they had been. Not that people thought the Bills were going to be terrible or anything, but it wasn't as much of a Super Bowl or bust thing in the off season. This year, I feel like the opportunity to just improve on what they did is more there than having to scramble around and fill a bunch of holes.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. I love what you said, actually, on Monday. I'll give you credit. You said we're going to spend a whole year thinking the Chiefs are inevitable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And all of this is right, what you're saying. And if you look at a year ago compared to this year, a lot of us thought last year, okay, this team's not going to be they'll be good. Josh will help make them good. Sprinkle in some magic here or there. Maybe you can go on a little run. But let's be honest, Jets are going to be better, Dolphins are going to be better, and they're not going to be in the same level as the Chiefs and, Bengals and Ravens, whoever we thought. Like, it's going to be one of those years where we have to accept that, and anything we get is a bonus. I think we were all kind of thinking like that. Then you get to, like, how they started to play, and they go on this roll, and the division stinks, and oh my God, here we are, and now it's, okay, let's go fire everybody because they didn't beat the Chiefs again, right? I mean, that's kind of the ultimate, the swing of it.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that this will be a different year of, okay, now you know where you got last year, and you should be better and have more options and have a better opportunity, even considering they actually ripped the Band-Aid off last year, Bulldog, to help this year. You know what I mean? Like, they did things with last year's salary cap to make sure they were in better shape now this year to handle things going forward. And look at their roster. 17 pending UFAs who, if every single one of them walked, you're not really going to go, oh, my God, I can't believe that guy left. Be nice to get some of them back. Ty Johnson, nice player. Mac Hollins.
Sure.
They're all replaceable players, to be quite honest with you. And then you're going to have guys you're going to have, transitioning where maybe they cut or whatever, Von Miller. There's going to be some of that.
Yep.
And they're in a spot where I think they actually do have an opportunity to make themselves a lot better this offseason as compared to last year.
Sal, since Sunday and the outcome of Sunday, there's been a lot of, I think, concentration on the last few top picks, the first and second round picks of the last couple of years, namely Rousseau and Kincaid and, Kyer Elam. I'm wondering from your perspective, how difficult is it, especially when you're trying to evaluate, because what you do and kind of what myself does when you're in the offseason and you're trying to evaluate, okay, like, should the Bills re-sign Greg Rousseau? And how does that look? And what is this? Like, how difficult is it to maybe pull yourself out of reacting to the most recent game? Because I think if you do, just react to Sunday. I can't believe that I would feel that 3 years of really solid play to have one game be the worst game of his career in Greg Rousseau, that all of a sudden I feel like, well, that's not a guy that you can build around moving forward because of one game, and it's the last game. And I mean, the Kyer Elam conversation, I think, is far more complex. But Kincaid as well. Like, where, maybe specifically on Rousseau, does one game dramatically change your opinion? Does it slightly change your opinion? Where do you stand on a conversation that I think is probably more complex than just saying yes or no to signing a player that has been a big part of what they've done and what they've been successful at?
Well, first of all, let me say that I try to give more insight on what I think the team thinks on these things, right? Like, what I think, what you think really doesn't matter.
Kind of doesn't matter.
Right. I think we can all give our opinions, and we do this. But I think as the beat reporter, here on this station, I try to give everybody what I think the team will do and how they react. And what's funny about you saying that is, and Bulldog, you know this, going back to the Houston playoff game in 19, it was such a glaring thing at the end of that game. They needed a number one wide receiver, right? That was like the thing that, remember, they were throwing the ball to Duke Williams, right? Was that who it was?
Yes,
Duke Williams.
He was there.
Right?
He was the target leader, and then there was a desperation heave to fullback.
Right,
Patrick DeMarco.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's right. And I remember
Double
Brandon
cover,
Bean
too.
saying, or Sean or Brandon, one of them said after that game in the press conference, like, the last game is a lot of times like your barometer of where you are, and you take that in. Like, I think actually, Nate, they do take one game and say that last game and go, what do we need? Let's remember why they signed Von Miller in the first place.
The last game.
Because in the 13 seconds game, Brandon Bean said, we think if we had Von Miller, that doesn't happen. Right? Like, they do take the end of the year, last game, compared to your competition, where you are, and go from there. Now, I think, though, however, completely separately, I don't think they're going to look at Greg Rousseau and say, oh, my God, one game. That's not going to be it. Because Greg Rousseau's under contract for another year. He's got his fifth-year option. That's guaranteed. He's not going anywhere. The only thing about Greg Rousseau you'd have to think about is, are they going to restructure him to give him a longer-term deal? And I think it might actually be easier with him because he's scheduled to make $13 million. You can save money. You could say to Greg, let's do another 3-4 years on top of that, and we're going to take that $13 million and reduce it down to whatever this year to spread the money out. So I think that's actually more easily done because of the situation he's in. Dalton Kincaid's on a second year of a rookie deal. Yeah, it didn't work out this year. Look at the Bills' build with McDermott and Bean. I would say year 3 usually has been the big jump for most guys. Khalil Shakir, Taron Johnson, a lot of these guys, really their third year is when they stepped up, and I would think that maybe they think that's the case, but either
Christian
way,
Benford.
we know he's not going anywhere.
Sure.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think there was one other guy you brought up there.
Elam.
Who was the other one? Yeah, so Kyer Elam's going to be an interesting one. So here's my thought on Kyer. I just don't know how you can go into the final year of his rookie deal thinking that he's going to be a main depth piece, and then at the end of that year he walks. I think you might have to just figure out see what you can get for him now.
Yeah.
And if you can't get anything for him, you might have to just cut your losses, because at this point, I don't think he's proven that he can be an NFL caliber outside corner.
And I know it's easy to say, well, they also drafted Benford that year, so it's kind of a wash. I don't necessarily disagree with that premise, but I'm trying to bring the human element of this. This is a guy, Sal, that didn't, he got thrust into the AFC Championship game 15 plays into it or whatever, and after being a healthy scratch for a lot of the year. I'm trying to balance my criticism of a player that I agree with you. You watched that game, Sal. If you're not walking away thinking, I was surprised they left him out there as long as they did. Then they let him struggle. Frankly, I think we're all a little relieved they didn't keep targeting him, because I think it could have been really ugly for him. But how do we all, just for the sanity of us all, how do you try to balance that? It looked bad, but he's put in a really tough situation.
Well, I mean, he's got to perform. I mean, he worked all week to be in that role in case it came.
That is right.
And the reason why he was even active is because they knew that Christian Benford was questionable and had worked through the concussion protocol all week. The only other option there would have been Jamarcus Ingram, and I'm a Jamarcus Ingram fan. My guess is, I don't know this, my guess is Jamarcus probably just worked at nickel safety most of the week. So he's not working the game plan at outside corner. So if you put him in there, I would have been fine with it. Go do something, but look, I think this isn't about even Sunday with Kyrie Elam. It's about 3 years of him just being a miss of a draft pick. I think you're now in a situation where he's got 1 year left on his deal. If he's on the team and plays it out, you're not getting anything, and fine, you can have him as a depth piece. But at some point, if you could get even anything for him, maybe you invest. I think Kyrie Elam might need a change of scenery, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely listen to that. I'm hearing all everything you're saying, and Nate, I definitely appreciate you trying to be sort of fair about, criticizing the guy because of the spot he was in. It would blow my mind if he were on this team next year. It'd blow my mind. I can't imagine that whatever his measurables are, whatever his character is, whatever they love about him, I don't know how you could possibly consider putting him back on the field at this point. I think it's just got to be. Even his teammates have got to be, as much as they might love the guy, God, can we really do still? What are we doing
And this
here?
isn't the first time, right? Remember last year in London, right?
And trust is the word that I think of, and how important trusting that somebody on your roster, if they have to play, that they'll just be in, even if they don't make a play. I think this is a great conversation about DeMar Hamlin. He's not a top 5, athletic profile and runs a 4.3, but you know what? They trust that when he's put in a position, that even if his athleticism doesn't allow him to make the play, that he'll be in a position to make the play.
DeMar is going to be a free agent. My guess is right now your two starting safeties next year are Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop.
Yeah, me too.
So how much are you investing in bringing DeMar Hamlin back? Actually, might be a better situation to bring him back this year than it was last year, to have him fight for a starting job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you can bring him back as a depth piece for a low salary, I'm okay with that. He can play special teams. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at this point, it might be better for them to have DeMar test the market, see if anybody else wants to give him an opportunity.
Yeah. Has there been any? I mean, there's been so much, to go through here. The choices made on play calls and different things that went wrong. Have you had a chance to evaluate at all, however you do it, how you thought Bishop played on Sunday? Because at a glance, the box score tells you Travis Kelce was nothing in this game. I don't know how much Cole Bishop had to do with that. I'm just wondering if there's been any sort of credible review of how he performed in that spot he was put in on Sunday.
Not yet. I haven't seen anything. I haven't heard from anybody yet. We're going to hear from Sean McDermott tomorrow. Maybe he'll be asked about Cole Bishop specifically. I thought that there was nothing glaring that came out of it from me for Cole Bishop, except for the fact that I thought he should have held on to the interception. To be honest with you.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was right in front of me. As soon as he had it in his hands, I thought he picked it.
Yeah.
And then he kind of had it wrestled away from him by a guy that weighs about 170 pounds. And, like, you can't have that happen.
I think that's entirely fair, too. All right, so tomorrow, Bean at 11, McDermott at 2. I don't want to ask you what you think we'll hear because I think we all kind of know. We've been through this. We've done this dance. So I think we can just take it all in and then analyze it afterward. I'm sure we'll catch up with you at some point tomorrow afternoon about all that, Sal. Thank you for this.
You got it, man. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Sal Capaccio on our West Her hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? 803-0550 is the number. You've been hearing us talking here about all different kinds of subjects regarding the Bills and the way the season ended and the way forward. We certainly encourage you to join us in that conversation. Nate Geary is in for Mike Schopp. I am the Bulldog. Thanks for listening to WGR. give up. This is not a commentary on Zach Benson's goal that followed the empty net goal, but as the father of a former goalie, the worst goal your kid or any goaltender can ever give up is the goal you give up after you've been pulled, they get an empty netter, and you go back in.
Yeah.
That is tough.
Yeah.
That is tough.
Yeah.
Had that last night.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Paterka and Thompson.
Yeah.
I did not have my my. Here's the thing about having a do you know about my business plan? I had a business.
Oh, I know about it.
I have a business plan.
You have not given me like the the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's not complicated.
Yeah, right. No, it's actually quite simple.
Sabres are underdogs. Bet them to win on the money line. Tage Thompson to get a hat trick. It's usually plus. It's $10 will win you 1,000. So I did this last year 50 times maybe. Not every game, but 50 times or so. And whenever I hit it, I don't remember, I think it was March by the time I hit it. For some reason, I don't remember why. Maybe I was chasing it. Maybe I had won something else and I had a little extra money. So I threw 20 on it and I got lucky. We got the hat trick that night and I won like $2,000. Like, great. This is a business model. This works. So I fired up the plan. The thing about having a business plan, a business model, is that you have to be open every day. You have to go to the store because people might want the thing. They might be shopping. So last night, I didn't have any money in my account. I knew the Sabres were playing, obviously. I hosted pregame. I knew I didn't have any money in there. I've been on a pretty lousy cold streak, freezer-esque. And I'm like, it's the Bruins. I'll get back at it against Nashville Friday night. And I just didn't think about it. Went to a concert. And, it's fun to know that people care enough to flood your social media accounts with references to the hat trick. Like, hey, buddy, hope you had it. Hey, wow, I'm glad for you. Hey, I'm like, nope. I didn't open the store last night. I did not go into business last night, so I missed out. And now I don't know what to do. Because now continuing from here feels like desperation chasing. I mean, he got it. Like, I would have been paid off, and I would have stopped. It would have been the end of the business for the year. Now it's like, I don't know. Is he going to get another hat trick? I mean, I don't know. So, bad timing by me. I picked a bad night to not be on that.
So, I didn't tell you this because I told the guys out there after the game on Sunday. But you were in here. You had come out a couple of times. We never mentioned this. I was on a Dolphins podcast yesterday. Or 2 days ago, Monday. And it was, I'll talk about the game, but then also talk about your parlay. And I was like, oh, that's right. I forgot. I mentioned to my buddy Joe that does the podcast that I had a pretty heartbreaking parlay. Heartbreaking parlay.
Tell me about it.
6 legs. Plus 3,500. I put $250 on it. But I had won big the previous week, so it was house money.
All right.
I'm like, you know what? I have strong conviction. And I hit 5 of the 6 by halftime. And the one remaining was Dalton Kincaid over 32.5 receiving yards.
Oh, we did.
Did I tell you
think
this?
you did mention this to me on Sunday. Yeah.
$8,500.
Unless I know someone else who tragically had the same thing happen to them, but I
was one of them.
This rings a bell.
It was like one of those things where I was like reacting in real time to the Bills just blew it. Oh no! And I was like, oh wait, how long was that throw? How long would that? Oh no! So yeah, it was.
That is so tough.
It was a double yoy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed on not $8,500, but about half of that on the Baltimore game. Not $200. It was a long enough parlay that I only had to bet $10 or $20 on it, but it would have won big money, $4,000 I think. Allen's passing yards in the Baltimore game 275, and I think he had 272. Or am I thinking the wrong game?
You're thinking last week.
I'm thinking of the Denver
120.
Game. Okay, it was the
127 against the Ravens.
Ravens, right? The Denver game. Then it was.
Yeah,
that's right. It was the Denver game.
Yeah.
So
Well,
fist bump.
Yeah, losing cash. Yeah, it's cool too because I was really starting to hit big on the first quarter bets, the first quarter props. Like, basically had won Khalil Shakir over whatever his yardage was in the first quarter for a month straight. And I was like, it sort of feels like I'm stealing money from the sports book. But, I digress. Yeah, it's just one of those things where we talked about this pregame, is me and Jer pregame. And me and Jeremy had a discussion about how much money would you need to feel better if you emotionally hedged the game and said, if the Bills lose, at least I bet on the Chiefs, I will have made X, and that will have helped me not be so sad, angry, whatever about the game. And so we were trying to figure out like what that number was. And I was like, $10,000. He was like, yeah. But he was like, also, how much money I would have to have invested in order to get $10,000 back. No, I don't know that there's an actual number that would make me like that, because somebody called and said, like, here's my emotional hedge. And I'm like, I get it. But at minus 175, in order for me to make the money required for me to feel better,
no thanks.
Boy, am I putting up. I'm like, well, if my team wins, now I kind of feel not great.
Really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just put $7,500 on this part. I don't feel so good, actually, about the Bills winning.
No, can't do that. 803-0550 is the number. Good story time, kids. Tony is first up this segment. Hi, Tony. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. I got a little bit of a different spin than most. I had this team, first, hockey season has finally begun in Buffalo. So it was a good night to see them get a win. And I say that sarcastically, obviously. I had this team no better than 10-7, maybe in a prayer 11-6, looking like garbage in the beginning of the year, scrapping their way to maybe a playoff spot and being bounced in the wild card. I think this team overachieved. I think acquiring Murray Cooper added to the win total, even though he didn't make a major impact, but he had to be accounted for. If they can retain him and Matt Collins, bigger, faster, stronger for Keon Coleman, and if we can get Curtis Samuel to maybe show up for more than 4 games, I think they'll be right where they were, if not better than they were this past year. And I think they need to really work on the defensive side of the ball. At the key positions, I don't see any free agents that could come in and just make an immediate impact for us. Unless we can't work a trade or something for somebody, but I'll leave it up to them because they've done a really good job as far as, always seeming to fill out this team. And let's not look past, I'm not one to cry about penalties, but come on, man. There's 7 penalties that I can count that should have been called. It's garbage. Something needs to be done about it. You can't, a blatant face mask. The first down line is across 17 to the middle of his torso where the ball was that you couldn't see. It's really become like professional wrestling, and it's a joke. The NFL is better than that, and something needs to be done. Thanks, guys.
All right, Tony. Thank you. Yeah, I thought Kincaid got the first down on the play before the sneak. By the way, did you think Kincaid had the first down on the play? Or this was closer to it than they marked him. I thought that was a tough. Tough sequence there. So I'm not. I love the Amari Cooper trade. I think you do have to sort of, put yourself through some gyrations to say it worked for them, because there certainly was not production that you can point to say that worked for them. So with that said, though, I don't disregard him being someone that teams have to account for, and that making life a little bit easier for some other players, just making the whole thing, grease the gears, make the offense run more smoothly. I was hoping for more impact. And for that reason, at his age, I'm not super, unless it's some contract that I can't really foresee right now that's so inexpensive. I'm going to be more interested in finding a different sort of player here than Cooper. I'm not worried about alpha dog, number one receiver. I'm worried about finding someone fast that can scare teams when they're playing the Bills. And so I don't know. I've done a cursory glance at this point at the free agent list of receivers, and it looks pretty bad, in my opinion anyway, at this point. Not to say there couldn't be some hidden gem, some good idea out there, but I don't know, man. They've tried the Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy bargain basement route, didn't really impact. They tried the trade for a number one type in Amari Cooper, and again, just didn't get me all the way there offensively. So I don't know if that's a trade. I don't know if it's a draft pick. I don't want to just run it back to that extent. When I say they're going into this offseason with an opportunity, I think, to improve the team, that's one area I'm looking to improve, the receiving core. I'm not against bringing Matt Hollins back on a reasonable contract, similar to what he was here on to begin with. I don't know if he outperformed that contract vastly or something, and therefore you can't afford him anymore. But Cooper, at his age, what I think the contract ask might likely be is not, to me, something I'm that interested in. As much as I liked the idea of trading for him in the first place, I need to find a better idea. And the draft is probably where I'm going to end up focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think you also might want to bet on Curtis Samuel being better for you if he's healthy to start the year next year. He caught the big touchdown pass in the game on Sunday. But it's like a little bit to me, the draft makes sense. Can you go and find a... But listen, if you want to convince me that the right move is going to sign T. Higgins, I maybe probably wouldn't argue with you. But, they scored 30 points a game or whatever this year without that true number one. I think that's the model moving forward. And sprinkling in a first or second round pick every couple of years, every other year at wide receiver to keep replenishing the bottom. I like Matt Collins if he's your number 5 receiver, and is your main special teams contributor the same way I feel about Ty Johnson. It's not just what he's done as a running back. He is a core special teams player, a very good one at that. What I don't want to get to a point in, which is where I feel like we are right now, is that I don't want to feel like Matt Collins is now on the field instead of Dalton Kincaid, which is what the AFC Championship game was. To me, the Bills win, and maybe it's not because of Kincaid catching that ball. My conversation was going to be, why is your first-round pick at tight end playing 20% of the snaps? Because he was not on the field at all in that game. I'm
thinking maybe we got an insight into that when Dawson Knox talked about how absolutely damaged he was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of that's exaggerated from Knox.
Knox was outplaying him, too.
Yeah, which is alarming.
Yeah.
So I think physically, just the story's not fully written on Kincaid. This year was a wash.
Totally. Yes, it was a bad year.
It was a bad year, and he wasn't healthy, and he's at the flashpoint of the very end of the game with a ball that, could have been caught. I won't say easily caught. Would have been it was a tough play, but it's a play that you could certainly have made. So too bad. 803-0550, too bad, he said. Thanks, Bulldog. 803-0550 is the number. Nate's in for Mike. We got Paul Hamilton coming your way in about 20 minutes on last night's big win for the Sabres, dueling hat tricks for Tage Thompson and J.J. Peterka. We'll get into all that with Paul in a little bit here on WGR.
Call or text
Geary sitting in. Why the weird inflection on Wednesday for no reason?
Wednesday.
My God, hit me in the face with a sledgehammer. Nate Geary is here for Mike today. I am the Bulldog. Glad to have you with us. Real quick, we got Paul coming up here in like 10 minutes. I, for the first time this week, finally didn't turn on the fake golf.
I forgot about it.
The TGL.
Yeah, I forgot about it.
I was very interested in it first week. Watched it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really. I didn't find myself, annoyed by it. But I was also, I think, pretty distant from liking it. I just was there, right? I'm just, okay, it's they're playing golf. Put it on in week 2 and thought to myself, why am I doing this? Third week, turned it on and changed the channel right away. And last night, forgot about it. It was Monday night this week, I think. I don't know. I'm coming very much around on the simulator experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enough of a psycho about playing golf now that I want it, I crave it, I need it. I love the golf dojo. I've been there 10 times. Really like it. Plan to do lots more of it. Watching people play fake golf. I just can't. I guess I'm not that level of golf fanatic where I want to watch the other people, even if they're the biggest stars in the world, hit the ball into a giant screen. I don't know. It's just not working for me. The personality and all this. Fine. I don't know. I reserve the right to change my mind, but I think I'm done with it already. I can't get there.
I think I wish both of us could have watched Monday night. All of my buddies in the group chat were all like, this was finally very entertaining.
Oh, was it close?
Yes,
finally?
And it was close. It went to overtime. Went to an extra hole.
Okay.
Like I think they finally hit the mark on what they've been hoping that it would be.
Good point. The 2 I watched were like 6-0 or something by the time I gave up on it. Like it just wasn't competitive at all. So I sort of I don't need to keep doing this. I suppose that could help. You know what I'm struggling with it is the spectacle of it all. For some reason, I know sports, the money is just, it's incredible, right? I mean, the wealth that is accumulated by these people like that are great at at golf, at hockey, whatever, right? For some reason, because it's Tiger and Rory that like are backing it, and I'm sure there's big money behind them.
There certainly is, yeah.
I'm sure they're invested in it. It just looks too much like it's in my face how the orgy of excess financially is out there in sports. Like they built this arena. How many people fit in there? They built an arena to have the whole thing. Just seems like. Do you have too much money? Do you have too much money? Is that where we are? Yeah, Scott Van Pelt is hosting halftime. Like, is he invested in this? He probably is. I don't even know.
Serena Williams is an owner of a team,
Talking
and her
about
billionaire husband.
How it'll make the people of LA feel good if their team plays well.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm. Listen.
I don't know. The whole it just felt. Golf can be like this very much for me. Like I'm a dude. Like I like going to play nice places, but there's a reason why I'm playing at Delaware Park.
Sure,
like I just like the vibe, like that.
I do think though that is probably one of what draws me to watching golf on television. Like my girlfriend has asked me this before. Like I'm sorry, like I'm not going to watch this with you, and I'm like, hey, I get it. I'm going to watch it. There's something about. CBS and like these, like the images of these courses, watching Torrey Pines this week.
Right.
Like you're like, first of all, the accessibility, I can go play Torrey Pines if I want. I could go play the course these guys are playing. And I think that's got a little bit, I think what makes it hard to relate to TGL is we're not going to play in that arena.
No.
And if we did, no one would watch us. And like, I do think that probably it is maybe, I get the idea of what they're trying to do, which is they're trying to grow the game. They're trying to bring like even Justin Thomas said it last week about like, hey, we all don't think these broadcasts are great. How about helping? How about being more accessible, showing more personality? And I do think this gives us a little bit of a behind the scenes. It also makes golf seem, maybe we're losing the relatability of watching these famous courses that we could potentially play ourselves. And also bringing in, maybe the relatability is more like, oh, these guys can play golf without looking like the most serious people in the world. They can look like they are having a good time and trash talk each other. And, you know, and Kevin Kisner can duff a ball into a screen, and I could be like, I do that over downtown when I go hitting the screen. So, you know, there I think is levels of relatability within it. But I think to your point, it's sort of like, have we reached the point in evolution where it's just like we should start over?
Yeah,
we should.
Right.
This is taking an unfortunate turn for all of us.
Sort of, yeah.
We're too bored.
Right.
We are too bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that is how I feel when I turn it on. I
am gonna have to listen back because I can't remember exactly what your phrasing was, but the orgy of what?
Excess.
Yeah. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
I liked it. It got me.
That's just what it looks like to me. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Thank you for that. Paul Hamilton coming up next. Nate Geary's in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR.
Caller
Are they going to win tonight? I don't have a clue.
None.
I am the Bulldog. Nate Geary has been sitting in for Mike Schopp today. One of them will be with me here tomorrow. Either Mike will feel better and be back, or Nate will be here in his stead yet again. Joining us now, apropos of nothing I've just said, on the West Her Hotline is our dude Paul Hamilton. Paul, you're on time today, Paul. Paul was late yesterday. Paul got caught in traffic. Did you ever find out what was going on down there?
No.
What was
Tuesday game? I got caught in traffic.
Tuesday
there were
game.
A lot of Bruin fans in there, a lot more than normal.
Tuesday game with this team, and you were in traffic. It was just bizarre.
Yeah. It's the first time in 10 years I've been in traffic now.
Yeah, this time yesterday we started pregame, and Zach's like, Paul's not there. I'm like, Paul got in an accident. Like, I'm just thinking something's wrong with you. Like, something happened, because you've never missed a cue one time in the 25 years I've been talking to you on the radio. So it shook me when you weren't where you were supposed to be at the time you were supposed to be there. Anyway, glad to have you again here. How fun was last night?
Well, it was just nice to see decent hockey, that they went out there and played as a team. And when Boston scored 2 goals, they didn't panic. They went the other way. They didn't, and never did I sense it was going to get away from them. Even when Marchand scored the power play goal, make it 4-2, because that's usually starts it.
Right.
And then 8 minutes later, it's 4-4. Because they let in another goal, then they take a penalty and let in another goal, and that's been what they do. But I didn't sense that at all, that was going to happen. And, what they wound up doing is after both Bruin goals, they got back on the board less than a minute later. I mean, when it's 1-0 Boston, 54 seconds later, it's 1-1. When Marchand scores to make it 4-2, 30 seconds later, it's 5-2. Peterka with a great play to use his speed to split the defense and go in. And Ruff talked about it, too. He said, I could just tell on the bench. It was just a different attitude. People were enthused about what they were seeing. And, if somebody made a mistake, I felt bad for Owen Power. He blew a tire. Well, Boston goes down on a 2-0. It's not Owen Power's fault. He fell. And Luukkonen bails him out with a phenomenal save. And so you get a big save there. Or if there are rebounds bouncing around the crease and maybe Luukkonen might be down and out, somebody got that rebound out of there. And they broke out. Their breakouts were very good last night for the most part. And, so they were working in sync, in hand with each other. And again, we've talked about this many times, showed that they are capable of being a good team, but we don't see games like that very often that we saw last night.
How is Thompson handling being on the wing?
He seems fine. Lindy was kind of funny yesterday.
Yeah.
He had said that he put him over there because he can't take face-offs and play center the way they wanted him to, so they thought he'd do that. And the question was asked, well, could he be playing center now if you wanted him to? Is that whatever was bothering him, is that gone? And Lindy goes, I haven't asked. He goes, because I like what I see.
Right.
And he goes, I don't think I would have a very hard time in convincing him to stay on the wing the way he's scoring goals recently. So, the typical Lindy, but that's the way he looked at it. It's like, why should I bring it up? He's fine over there. That's not what our problem is. So why should I bring it up right now? Let's just go with it. And they are. And it doesn't really sound like, Thompson said before they left out west, I remember him saying to me that it doesn't matter. I'll play center, I'll play wing. Whatever he wants me to do, I'll play. He goes, I just want to win. So whatever he thinks accomplishes that, I'll do.
And to you, Paul, obviously a lot of it's Thompson's having success on the wing. But how much of that, too, do you contribute to Kulich just being able to kind of step into the top line and play at the level that he has, especially at a position that he really didn't come into the NHL or had experience at the NHL level playing for a prolonged period?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing he did in Rochester, when he showed up as an 18-year-old. It's easier to play the wing than it is center. And the AHL is a very difficult league for an 18-year-old. So he was on the wing, did okay. He wasn't bad. I mean, he put the puck in the net and, played well for an 18-year-old down there. I mean, his defensive game was really bad, and, Seth Appert really had his hands full with that, but Appert did a great job with that, convincing him. And he said it really kind of the breaking point, because he said he was hard on Kulich, and Kulich's English wasn't great. So he wrote Kulich a letter and had it translated into Kulich's language. And he goes, that was the point right there, where Kulich understood why he was being hard on him, what he's trying to accomplish with him. And Kulich really appreciated that his coach took the time to do that, to write him a detailed letter on what he expects from him, why he's being hard on him, what he thinks he can accomplish in his career, but he gave it to him in his language. And I've heard Kulich talk about that twice now, on two different times, that really helped the two of them start understanding each other. And then he moved him to center, and he got better. And the same thing happened here. I mean, there wasn't a place at center. He came up, and they were playing him the wing. And, we talked about it, and I wasn't sure if he was really ready. I didn't think, watching him in the playoffs last year, I didn't see anything that told me he was ready. He just didn't have a good playoff for Rochester. And, watching him here, I really didn't think he was. And then he moved to center. And then you could see him start getting better. It's his position, That's what he played as a kid. That's what he played when he was drafted as a center. And he just started getting better and better. And then, he wasn't really getting results. But where I was noticing him is he was better in the defensive zone, because his responsibilities are going to be different there. And I saw a real difference there. And, what Appert was trying to convince him is if you play better in the defensive zone, you're going to get more offensive zone chances. Because he told me, go stop and think about it. If you work hard to get the puck back and do well defensively, now you have the puck. You're not chasing around the defensive zone the other team. And you're going to now have more opportunities in the offensive zone. And he, finally bought into it. So that's kind of the way it started. And now he's starting to produce a little bit at center. And, maybe if a trade comes up where, all right, you have to – they're not going to make the trade if Dylan Cousins isn't involved. And I'm sitting here saying they should trade Dylan Cousins. I'm here with any of them saying if somebody calls, pick up the phone and listen.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying shop Dylan Cousins or anything like that. I still think Dylan Cousins can even be a better player than he is right now in this league. But I certainly, if I were the GM, wouldn't hang the phone up. And if that's what it takes to get a top six forward who can put the puck in the net, who's 26 years old, and that's what it takes, okay. Because you got Kulich. They love Helenius, who they just drafted, who they've already said is going to be a center. That's what they're going to, play him as in pro hockey. They like those two a lot. So you're stocked as far as the young players, and maybe in the Pettersson case, if you would happen to get him, well, you get a center there. So
and Kozak is kind of looking like a decent answer on the fourth line.
Absolutely. If he's earned it. I watched him. We were talking about it yesterday. He was on the ice. He got in front of three different passes as we were talking, blocked a shot. As the other team was coming, as the Bruins were coming up looking like they were going to get dangerous, he picked off a pass at the blue line, and he went to the net and had a fairly decent scoring opportunity at the net and won 3 battles on the wall. That was just the one shift we were talking about him. And he is exactly what they need. I mean, they try to be harder to play against. Mallenstein has worked out. Lafferty, yes and no. Obey-Cabell, no. Gilbert, yes. But from here on out, as far as I'm concerned, that line can be Mallenstein, Kozak, and whatever, whether it's Lafferty or it was Benson yesterday. I just think, Greenway still has to come back. So somebody that you're going to have, you're going to need a roster spot. So you got to think about that. How you've already done the wave Aubé-Cabell, and when Greenway comes back, you're not sending Kulik down. So maybe he'd have to go down there. But moving forward, he has shown he can play. He will do anything to win a hockey game, and I saw that. I've actually watched 3 playoff runs of the Rochester Americans. One day maybe I will see a playoff run of the Buffalo Sabres. But, after the Sabres are done, I head down and watch the playoff run of the Amherst. And Kozak, he's diving face first into pucks with 30 seconds left in a 1-goal game to block a shot. That's what he does. And, he will do anything to try to win a hockey game. And to me, even though he's only played 10 games, he has shown that. Is he going to score 20 goals? No. Is he going to score 10? Maybe not. But I think he can make a difference for you playing on a line like that. And I think he and Mallenstein are a good start to that.
Paul Hamilton on the West Her hotline with us here. The Sabres blew out the Bruins behind hat tricks from J.J. Peterka and Tage Thompson last night, 7-2. They host Nashville on Friday, and Rob Ray will have his name inducted. He will be inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame on Friday, pregame ceremony at 6. So make sure you get there early and get to your seats. It's a long ways ago now, Paul, but I brought up Thompson and how he's handling playing on the wing, in part because his big breakthrough here with Don Granato, I can remember talking to Don Granato or at least hearing him talk about using him in the middle, because if he's on one of the walls, I'm limiting what his reach can do for me, right? He's such a big, unique player, body-wise, that I'm limiting what he can do if he's not in the middle. And, of course, his career kind of took off, and he became the player. He's never reached those heights again since he got the contract, but still, he's still a player to be reckoned with, I think. I wonder if now that he's established his skill set and knows how to score goals in the NHL, is it not as important that he, avoid being a winger and being on the walls?
I think what Granato did was brilliant. I think the way you described it, it was an excellent choice to do that. Teams would use the boards as like one side, so the boards are guarding him on one side, and the player would guard him on the other and box him in. And it kind of got him loose, and I think you're exactly right. I think now that he's played center for a couple of years, it's made him a better hockey player. And and it maybe doesn't matter as much whether he's at center or at the wing. He can produce. I mean, he is at a 46-goal pace right now for over 82 games. So, I felt after the 47-goal year that he could be a 50-goal scorer in this league, and I don't really feel any different. Injuries kind of gotten in his way the last couple of years, and but on a team that doesn't score goals very often, he's on a pace to get 46 goals. Tuck is on a pace to get 26. Zucker's on a pace to get 27. Now Peterka's down. Even with that hat trick, he's only on a 23-goal pace. His assists are up, though. I mean, you look at his last 22 games, he only has 6 goals. 3 of them came last night, but he does have 16 assists, so he does have 22 points in his last 22 games. So you are getting production, but it just isn't necessarily, at least in my case, where I thought it would be goal production. And he has to improve drastically on defense. I mean, he does hurt them a lot on defense. He's very unaware, on defense, but, you maybe can get that out of him. I don't know. I'm not a coach. That's up to Lindy Ruff to do, and his coaching staff. But and they have a lot of work to do there. But 22 points in 22 games is 22 points in 22 games when you're looking at the other side of the ice.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I'm disappointed he's not emerged. I think I said quite loudly a number of times he's going to be their best player, and I've had to pump the brakes on that because it's not, and his all around game would have to be a part of that, and that's not, like you're saying, that's not fully formed yet. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe it will get there at some point, but. Kind of a letdown, I guess, ultimately. Like, if you had the lofty expectations I had, like you're saying, it's still decent. It's just not, whoa, look at this guy,
Yeah, he had 28 goals last year, so I thought, well, he has a chance to have 30. he's a gifted goal scorer. There's no question about that. I watched him in the World Championships for junior where he led the tournament in goal scoring on a team that wasn't even as good as an AHL team. I mean, he was dominant there, putting the puck in the net. So he does have that kind of talent as far as scoring goals.
You mentioned Elias Pettersson, and real quick, I've done some Googling. The first time we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, you said Peterson, and I didn't correct you. I thought you probably know.
It is Pettersson. It is Pettersson.
Okay.
No, it is.
Here's the thing. I'm a little confused. I think there's a video going around of him saying, I'd like it North Americanized, so I'm fine with Peterson. Like, it doesn't seem dug in either way. But I always thought Pettersson, and when you said Peterson, unless I misheard you, maybe you didn't say it that way, I thought maybe you knew something I didn't, so I Googled, and there is some debate around. I don't know if
I Googled the pronunciation of it like last week.
Right.
For the same, and it said Peters.
Yeah.
Pete.
Same. This is what I did after Paul said it the other day. So, I don't know. Are we? Is this Talinder? Like, where are we here, Paul?
Tyrod.
Right.
But if the place I always go is the NHL media, which has pronunciation, and they actually, if you hit the speaker, will say the name for you, and they say it Elias Peterson.
Right.
That's how the NHL media says it. Elias first name, Peterson.
So
But it could be. Or I'm sorry. I goofed there.
Okay.
Stop. Elias Pettersson is what they said. You had me all confused now.
Yeah.
I have it right now. The website on the NHL says Elias Pettersson.
This may have all started because I misheard you the last time I thought you said it, Peterson. That sent me looking. Then I was watching them the other night. Oh, what night was it? They were like the NHL Prime Monday night game or something. So I was watching a national broadcast, and I don't know who that might have been, John Forsland, I don't know. And he was saying Pettersson. I'm like, oh, no. So I Google. It says like Nate saying Peterson, not I don't know. But hopefully we have a factory full of shows about this ready to go if the Sabres make this trade, because that'd be great.
And I always will go to NHL media if I have a question on a team coming in, player I might not know or whatever. And they're not 100%.
Right.
They're pretty good. But, I can't say it's 100% correct every time there, but more times than not, you're going to be right. A lot more times than not, you're going to be right using what they say. It's a very handy tool to have.
Paul, how much are you looking forward to Friday? We had Rob on, and we're going to have that back for the audience that might not have heard it earlier, and it was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with him today.
Yeah, I remember when they released it that was going to happen, I had him as my walk-off interview instead of one of the players, and we talked about it. And I know Rob well enough to know, he gives you the gruff, oh, yeah, this is nice, but whatever. But he really does appreciate it. Even when I've been bringing it up for the past X amount of years, saying to him, I said, I'm not just saying it because we're on the way to dinner here or something. I thought richly deserved it, not only for his playing career where he was beloved,
right,
but for his broadcasting career and for what he does in this community. And what he does very much goes unnoticed because he doesn't want to be noticed. He doesn't want people to know he's giving away turkeys before Thanksgiving. He doesn't want people to know that he's delivering toys before Christmas. He just gets together with the Buffalo Police or Fire Department and does it. And there aren't TV cameras there. He doesn't want to hear. He doesn't want accolades. And he still does it. He did it as a player, and he's still doing it now. And, it just... For me, it just took way too long for this to happen. Well, I guess the Hall of Fame kind of just went to nothing. It was like nobody's running this anymore. And then when they decided, well, let's get Ryan Miller in this thing. We'll run it if we have to. And now, it seems like it's back up and going again. But for many years, it was just dormant.
We're all looking forward to Friday night, Paul. Thanks a lot for this, and we'll catch up again, if not before Friday, definitely on Friday.
Nice talking, guys. Take care.
All right, there's Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. His appearances brought to you by Equitable Advisors. Planning for your future is about more than just money. Let Equitable be your guide. And by Relax Honda, relax, we got this. All right, as promised, we'll hit a timeout here, and you're going to hear from the man who's being inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame on Friday, Rob Ray. After this, Nate Geary's in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
Never miss a second of Jeremy